he arose with a mighty triumph for his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with his saints to reign. He arose, he arose, he arose, he arose, hallelujah, Christ arose.
Chariot TV is proud to present Digital Lectureship 2025, themed Shepherd the Church of God, Acts 20:28. Over 12 insightful days, we'll delve deep into the principles of spiritual leadership, church organization, and the profound responsibility of caring for God's precious assembly. We'll kick off with Don Blackwell addressing Ordination of Elders, who is eligible, followed by B.J. Clark on the elders or preachers, who is in charge of the church. Eric Owens will then explore why take heed to shepherd the Church of God. You'll also hear from Mike McDaniel on balancing ruling and serving, Alan Webster on raising men to be elders, and Eric Eskew discussing when there are no elders. Kyle Butt will cover elders and church discipline, and Scott Kane will elaborate on why elders should smell like the sheep. We'll then dive into church organization with Aaron Gallagher, comparing biblical and denominational hierarchy, Shadrack Oppong addressing concerns in Ghana, and Dan Cates sharing historical lessons. George Assar will shed light on church autonomy and cooperation, and John Adu will conclude by explaining why caring for the elders is caring for the church. Don't miss this enriching series. Equip yourself with biblical knowledge to better understand and participate in the life of the church. Join us for the Chariot TV Digital Lectureship on Chariot TV and the Church of Christ TV on Facebook and YouTube. Mark your calendars from the August 1st to the 14th, 2025. Don't miss out.
Digital Lectureship, good evening. Welcome from everywhere you are watching us. My name is Jonathan Mensah Bonsu. This is the 7th day. I hope I got it right. Yeah, 7th day. The 7th day of the Digital Lectureship 2025. The 9th day. Hey, now I've miscount too. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Well, it's Digital Lectureship, the 5th edition of the Digital Lectureship. And we are live on Facebook, Church of Christ TV. We are live on Chariot TV, Facebook, and we are live on YouTube. We are streaming live on all these platforms. Let us know where you are watching us from, and we will acknowledge you in the comment section. I can see this guy. Hey, nipenia. The word must go. DL 2025. This is my brother, highest motivation. Good evening to us. Good evening to us all, brethren. This is Brighter Sari, DL 2025. Hashtag Chariot TV as followers. I can see Anthony Oppong. Saying good evening, brethren. May Almighty Jehovah peace be on you. Watching live from Mali. Jonathan Yali also telling us good evening, watching us live from Kumasi Asafo. God bless organizing our church speakers. I've seen Philomena, our sister Philomena saying at highlight, everyone followers 2025. I've seen our mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Osebunsu, watching from Italy. Good evening, brethren, to you. Patrick K.A.B. incoming Asante Bekwai MP. Watching live from Ajamasu Church of Christ. Brighter Star is live from Sinani Church of Christ. Let us know where you are watching us from. My name is Jonathan Mensah Bonsu, and we are live on DDDL 2025. I'm with Obed Morty. Obed, good evening. If you can hear me.
Yes, sir. And then the answer, wakonom abrofu drunti no brofu na chese echegu sa. Good evening.
Anyama ni nkoyi. Unze anyama nkoyi sa dia na say. Also, Daniel.
Now, in Crawford or comment section, I can see
Well,
that a lot of people are making a lot of comments in the comment
don't,
section.
don't don't mind the comment, those comment people. But how are you, my brother?
Oh, Nyamiado Mehoye. In fact, I'm just enjoying the digital lectureship. I'm so glad to be part of this because now I'm doing a lectureship with the NKT no. Then you no, and it's a you know you could share more fako baby friend is a dime bimu. Na so what need around and also need the opportunity to go to that particular place, you know, they are
Uh-huh.
automatically left out. But Chariot TV ne Madaroma what to me be lectureship ni mu ama ya ye chi kra chesenka ye ntimi nya kwan enko nkohia fa akono ye nya kwan a ye tie ensem a etwagu. I think for the past 8 days and then the ninth day of
Yeah.
DL 2025, and it's been nothing short of excellence. In fact, speakers now omaba previously you could see that these are seasoned speakers, and they spoke to the matter. Omo bobo asam no ehho enchenchen. Omo eka asam no said there was omo kan said the Bible no church the pepe. I am so excited, and then I think it is going to be interesting because said the flyers gu anopan na just say me hu say yan nipa and I say yan ye ana ene edu ne so ntino mesre omunya a friend is saying omunya ma na so omunya nte DL 2025 ne ho omonte ho bibia ye no ye besre mo say announce it mo hwe yan mo mboayen na mo and spreading news and na obiante. And the only way you can help us is to share. What Basu say, no share link no na afoforo nso etimi anya akwanya na mo so ma be join it a program na yen na yen chefa e wo dwumadi a ye din ye mpese ye mu bi anase spiritually ye mu bi benyi agya ebi. That is what we don't want. Ye pese yen na ye ma ye ho so ebom nti no. Don't be selfish and yet person kuminya obaso say you type on highlights. I know it's all back and you can several times. Yeah, or hashtags you can do that. Ebwa na eye nkofo etumenya eye program na ye jumede na ye di no metimi enye mu chefenti no. That is what I will say, and I am just waiting for you to outdoor and then speaker no. He's been a host for some time, but and then he's on the other side of the program. So I just want to stay tuned. I would want our viewers to stay tuned because I know this speaker very well, and I know said Otieno yebete nanu di some as he is. We expect to hear him as he physically is.
Oh,
That's all I expect for today. I don't know what you also expect.
yeah, we expect much, but Obed, one say uncrophone no. Na no minya message free uncrophone ho say obaswa. Wadane ho bantuma hene nana ana oba ha na oba poto cheese poto cheese. Mesro ka bibi kakra bi odi e efa di e ho e wo kasa mu. So when timi yan so afeli o.
Yeah. Obese obami chedjan ewo the crew mo. Yeah, I think
Aye.
men crawl for in fact me cry many messages maybe and
Yes.
me can the people of the Volta region was that omo no kasa mienu pe no motaite omote anwa kasa no ana brofo kasa, and DL 2025 has been such that inja yenyi mfi mu enti no omote brofo no. So I believe that they are benefiting from it, despite the fact that you're translating chi mono omote brofo. So yen crofo no de I want to say binom omote brofo fine enti no brofo no be kasa ni nyina.
Nabi, minim de ya beso okro no. De ni de beso okoni. Won't even kan okro mkasa. Oh, eso macho. Obi ya wo adidome chire ho baabi.
Mr. Enya ho
Won't
ne
even
wo
kan
me.
okro mkasa.
what ye bedi some common later on our action time by and then the see a focus on DL 2025 na ye share jumedia ekoso. I know that there are so many comments coming in, but say they can oba so say ya shame baby I will share fee. Then you share the link as well. I think there are some hashtags you can also use.
But well, I think I'll let you read a comment, but before
Yes.
you read a comment, I just want to pass one or two things before possibly read a comment. We have been advising brethren that we are doing free advertisement.
Okay.
Edwuma bi a woyɛ no, a wode na di me hu na yɛbɛka sɛ yɛbɛbɔ ho dawura ma wo. Na yɛaka but head down officially in free and pay. Ma send a message. Send me message, WhatsApp message, just WhatsApp, don't call. If you send me WhatsApp message to this line, obenya me na ma bo onioma a woyɛ ho dawura we. Obi a send me friend Joshua. I think he's in East Legon, Church of Christ, or a software engineer. Working for MTN, but or build a website and website application for clients. Joshua from until PBBSA or they just get in touch with Charo TV. One fact contact more contact, but contact on the man, me person but unya that get in touch with Charo TV now per website and quadia any menya sa adnama who say unya bin so Eddie sending me from Linda Fashions. Say Linda Fashions ni twego home of quality and affordable clothes. The animal entire any board no. As a Timothy Human say costly apparel. Timothy who costly apparel. Costly apparel. It's Linda's fashion there or quality and affordable. 2-in-1. In 2-24-988-6932 or the Omenyano 0245-988-6932. We know it was here was and Tibon say it's cool or comment down hona echo. I say Linda doorstep medical center so and also our takrade I think Kojo Chrome Road into your friend number no a twego no 024722 4244 Ubenya. As long as you send us your comment, your your auto obviously a boy on the room, we will do that. Because
there is
a free advertisement. Wow. And we are for if you ucha all the bar na ya can't hold the room. But who said Joshua so sha who say maka send Joshua. I think Joshua from Adabraka, he is the one. I hope he's the one, but if he's not, Maka Joshua or Neomano or a programmer, you can get in touch with Charo TV and we'll link you up. We have Linda clothing and so her affordable clothing or and I work medical center, doorstep medical center. So from one, if you grab person in a door to door, show. Door to door,
now Linda clothing no a man na
man mind now who say also the Neoma. Baby also quite the Neoma. Why? What did you Neoma now? This is a Neoma. Can you read a comment for us?
You comment I shall see Tregu. I mean shall see fee I think we are kind of that. Also the word must go up a view. Yes, up a view so as so they are back. Yes, so said the baby I know Ham saying ya kaiti for Nyasha for say at highlights the who here papa say obaso na so ye ni say man ya e boa afoforo so a omunya ntage medie no popo ye no so manya alert. Facebook automatically does this for you. So please do this. Abebio, thank you so much. You've been very consistent. Highest motivation, I'll say good evening to us all, brethren. Yeah, so papa highest motivation. Another hashtag for the past 9 days. Hashtag DL2025. Hashtag DL2025. So the bright. I am a fair fan. We're to me. Na etumi ama it creates a lot of buzz around the program. Then people get to know because this is the most important thing happening currently on the airwaves. Yenim se niema esi Ghana. But currently, I am still insistent that we need idea here. Into no moma yemfa ye ho engine na yendu jumedien bright that's papa. Anthony also say, good evening, brethren. May the Almighty Jehovah be upon you. Peace. Yenso Ichia Papa from Mali. Oh, yes. Mali, all the way from Mali. Wayadi, in fact, he's been with us for almost all our programs. Are very, very consistent. We salute you, Brother Anthony. Abebio also say share. Abebio say share. You, oh dear. Where in my yes, Anthony said Anthony I NFFF, Mama Yen is pepe na emboa. Yes, me who's for join it. And you know more yard, mama yankoswa and share nanko for and join because speaker no ban and confirm mama to say more questions be brompe say de epuan because wabon crofo chiache intino mama yen join and yinti the obeka the obeka bi atro no na yemfa also so nkaka ka baby you say hey nipa nua okay I think we Jonathan Akan Jonathan Yale my good friend was a good evening. I'm watching you live from Kumasi Asafo. Okay. Nyankopon inshallah. Philomena. Okay, Philomena so Nyankopon inshallah. Osei Bonsu. Osei and my wife Doris watching from Italy. Oh wow, Italy, Bologna. Okay, Italy, Bologna and in the capital of Italy na meaning obetimi dia share hodom dia my Patrick and so sharing from Asante Bekwai. Meaning Brighter Sari, Richard Donko, hey, Miami senior man, Bichiao, Papa, you are here from YouTube, from Henderson Church of Christ, Waji Henderson, Honmina, Alpha, Yanko Punsha, Chiao, Papa, Yanko the next a year comment. Baby, I'm a Phoebe, who knows a guy, son, Jonathan Asemna, when I know count Hanum say Mate. Derek Blackmore. My name is Derek Blackmore with Tema. Oh, okay, watching from Tema. Yeah, my name Derek Blackmore with. Yeah, it was a good evening. How are you guys watching live from Tema? Hey, brother Derek. Me who watch it? Nyankopon inshallah. Revive us again, media. Okay, I see. And also Ednedie Abba. Philomena also saw sharing from Accra. Abraham Amwate. In fact, also has been really, really consistent. I think he won something in some previous days. Abraham, I know the Ubini and Mama Menya Yikakra. Good evening, everybody. Son Abraham, Council sharing live from Tema. Revive also sharing from Takrad. In fact, comments no bar neighbor. Let me see if I can pick.
Yeah, Ben said, yeah, hold on some comments, and check. Ben yeah, cross to the speaker. But my main fan to out when him say, if you get in touch with my number, don't call. My number the offer. Now I had Jenny. Don't call the number. Just get in touch on WhatsApp. What's any WhatsApp? I mean, I've been getting messages from brethren. Almost see more or muju say. Sorry, I will say attendance call for one. It's simply because you have not contacted Albert. Mamenka insist you. So attendance call for one. Uncontacted Albert. Albert because Albert has a church system that works. A church system that works. It is sorry, I will a local congregation will more struggle with attendance, trying to track members and trying to reach out to them, and a lot of church system, hymnals, everything. Just get in touch with Albert. The number ni 0501 305 096 0501 305 096. The website near mychurchsystem.com. Say my chaguna attendance no call for one. Just get in touch with Albert. Yes, system be a bit me abwa. Now it's me attract brethren. Get in touch with me. Get in touch with me.
Yeah, I think point it's worth stressing because program here, it's about eldership and all that. But say elders, so many bits me call a year as a for man who here. Here systems be a bit me wow. No, me d as a for manage. So I think with the software, that's church management system now.
Yes. Software.
Patronize it. I believe that it's a very good.
Just go to mychurchsystem.com. Mychurchsystem.com. Now, catch me say settings in our mobile. We need settings. The Don't send me WhatsApp messages. No, yes, settings. No, yes, settings. What they call share. Good evening. Be away from Nanaya Nkrumah. Good evening. We are so proud to have this lecture. God bless you all. Obed, just one or two, then we cross over to
Okay.
Brashadrak. Brashadrak, he doesn't need introduction.
Okay.
And then today, Nanka,
Oh, there
yeah.
be now only say SSA you be on say there be SSA bisa no.
Oh,
Send
Bibia, person
yeah.
would be a little market
There be won't
about
mean
him.
so it doesn't need introduction. It will be on when any day the kind of ocean. And still, and I'll say make sure say you introduce
Ah,
them very well.
okay.
And
Well, I may introduce you. No, me, I may introduce you. Don't worry. It will a few things we will can so that I
oh yes,
cross.
yes. So said you can kind and moma yankoswa and share because they're very, very interesting, very, very important. And they and somewhere about can like a fayankasankasa my like growing concerns in Ghana. So moma yen share na yendi discussion no is very, very interactive. Into no obaswa that's all kasa. There what say yeah said yeah discussion be just be engaging in the comment section as you've always been for the past 8 days. And then when we is happy na and watch me na I think but the manu be see say ni ashe na say.
Yo, out of four, we are live on Chariot TV. We are live on Church of Christ TV, on Facebook, and live on Chariot TV YouTube. Brother Shadrack is with us today. Now the topic, church organization, growing concerns in Ghana. Brother Shadrack, memoajo, baby ati and kebia.
Joe Major so number chomo to say.
Nyame adom, me ho ye, Mjiri ye se, I won't swap so ye.
Na enkrofo per se
Oh,
bisa say
as I some making, and I'm making you, or no introduction. I say we
there be Mr. Enkrofo bi say omo hu Chelsea bi wa chire ho no no den like no person hu ne fire by.
Well, so who Chelsea mature on a growing concern in football. It said growing concern there's only one team that can represent the entire earth, and that is Chelsea Football Club.
Hey,
yo, me that's it. Somebody can catch her, but
what
a
does it say?
you bedroom was but Shadrack,
Okay, yo.
Ubed,
Matter.
me no bedin crab, but Shadrack,
Yes, sir.
anything what we need to know about Shadrack, Bunini Becker say Oppong, Oppong, yeah, that's how they pronounce it. What do we need to know about Shadrack? Yeah.
Well, Shadrack Oppong is just a preacher of the word. I growing up, I was not, my mom was not a member of the church when I was born. Enti minyini se obi a ne maame nya kwan aba asɔre no mu na I had studied with a lot of people to come to understand that the scriptures is the only mouthpiece of God. So basically that is something that I decided to pursue growing up. And that took me to a lot of places. I schooled at KNUST, went to Ghana Bible College, worked at Fidelity Bank, resigned to preach at Insan Road for almost 6 years. And then I left and came to the US, went to the Memphis School of Preaching, graduated, went back to Ghana, and that has been my life.
That has been my life. I think that sums up about Shadrack. We won't take much of your time. But
Yes, sir.
my main fan is say, you have video back, video back, you see you in, then you start preaching. But my main kind out of force, oh, share ya. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube. Just drop in your comment in the comment section. They are all Kenyan, he's preaching the word. As someone okay. So okay, Bibi. Now, just type it in the comment section. When we come back, we'll pick it up and we'll discuss on, or he will answer what you are having doubt in your mind. You answer it in the comment section. You answer from there. If just type it and type what you think is right. The point is that Well, Acts chapter 17, verse 11. No? Or say you for what he chain 1 hour Thessalonica. No? You want young pefe jasem. Na da retrense say Nioma what yet sa ana. Our goal and say a better trense my boom. Na yes, we are the Shadrack. The video you check go back church organization growing concerns in Ghana.
From the grave he arose with the mighty triumph for his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with the saints to reign. He arose, he arose, he arose, he arose, hallelujah, Christ arose.
Now, I am not a very old man,
Me nye obi amaba kra.
but I have witnessed a growing church and a growing fellowship.
Na enso so mahunu asori a enyini na nkabomu nso a esron kokra.
I am not a very old man,
Me nye obi amaba kokra.
but I have witnessed a church that desired to preach the sound word of God.
Nanso mahunu asori a omani abre na mo ope so mo beka Nyankopon no kwasem.
I am not a very old man,
Me nye obi amaba kra.
but I have witnessed preachers that team together to preach God's word.
Na mahunu asempakafo a omo kabom eka Nyamesem.
I am not a very old man,
Me nye obi amaba kra.
but I've grown enough to witness a youth group from various congregations coming together to do a whole lot of church things.
Nanso mahunu mabunu a aka omo ho abom efiri mmiaye na omo di dwuma kese e ma asori no.
I have witnessed a massive public preaching across Ashanti region, especially in Kumasi.
Mahunu Nyankopon asempaka akese a akoso titiriw ewo asantemamu ni titiriw eni Kumasi.
I have witnessed a public preaching where one preacher stands on the podium to preach God's word, while several of congregations around and preachers around were seated and watching and motivating him.
Mahunu maniso se biaya yeshia na sepakani bako asori gina na oka Nyamesem na Kristo nsafo ahodo a won patam ho atwa biaya ne ho ahia na omatena se etie Nyankopon asem kom na omo hye ni nkurane.
I have watched and gathered with brethren who came from different congregations and sat and sang and enjoyed themselves in the fellowship of the Lord.
Mahunu na mande emo enipa bi ahia nso a enwanom bebre ahodo efiri miaye yehia mu na yeto dwom na yedi ye ho nkomo yenka ye ho bom na yedi ye ho ayonkofa.
I have seen Bible camps and I have seen gospel meetings and lectureships.
Wohunu bofokasem de efe no Bible camps nhemu dia ase any gospel meeting asempaka a yehia mu a ye ka wohunu ewo Kristo mu.
In the 80s, I was not old enough to see the research that was conducted and the results concerning the fastest growing church in Ghana.
Well, in fear, in payment, you watching moon, ohuni na ote enioma na onyini de nanso obehunu se yewo nhwehwemu ahodo pia mo ye ya na eka se Kristo na safo no eye asori a enyini ntentem pa e Ghana.
The Church of Christ was seen as the fastest growing church in Ghana.
Kristo na safo no yehunu se na eno na ya asafo a enyini ntentem pa e Ghana.
It started from brethren being too concerned and deciding to pool resources and knowledge together to do the work of God.
Ehase ewa bra anuanom enya otima enya opebi ana enya atenka bi ama Nyankopon asem na odi won hode ka bomu efua se yemfa Nyankopon adwuma.
And brethren, where did we go wrong?
Na minyanom he fa ne ye
Where did we get it wrong to the point that it's a fastest growing church, and in my estimating, becoming the slowest growing church in Ghana?
He fa ane mane ye efise na ebre bia na ye asafo ni ntentempa he fa ane mane ya sese de e kam ya ye se madwene mu no ye asori a ye nyini kura na ye nyini no ati pentenkwa.
The church that had preachers who were together calling each other and enjoying the fellowship of one another has become a church of backbiting and fighting and swallowing each other.
Asori a na asapakafo no ka bom ye Nyankopon adwuma frefre wo ho na obomodin biara ka wo ho bom ye adwuma no sese dia adane asori a asapakafo no ekeka wo ho no wo wo ho no wo hyehye wo ho.
I think I know where it started from.
It
started from where brethren started talking about the need to have unison and try to pull resources together to create offices and to create means by which one person may have authority over another.
Na ye nyina nya kro na ye kro ye mu no ye tetete kuokuo ni ade ni nya biaye na eno akire nya obi obeda ye nyina ya no watimedi tumi e wo ye nyina ye so.
Yes, it continued with others objecting to this idea and proposing that let everybody leave this fellowship and let this die.
Ehase enso so e wa bra enuanum bi nso so sori ti asa adwene no na omo kuti aye na omo kasa ase munyanom mi anyina ba bi egina no a na yenyai ehaw na ede ba aso no so no na nkabo mu aye wo no yenkoso antena eno aho.
It continued when brethren started singing and creating slogans like autonomy is dead and buried.
Ehase ana etwa so e wa bra enuanum pi na hyase to dwom na otwe momome na wonsem a na wo ka nyina ne se autonomy awu yesie no ama ne no mpa nyina ho akokwa.
And brethren, eventually both sides of the coin won.
Na no kura ni se che kura no a afanunu mienu nyina no obi a di nkunim.
They succeeded in dividing the lost church in Ghana.
Odi nkunim e wa bra otete Kristo na safo a e wo Ghana mu otete yemu.
The division that retarded our growth, the division that created a gulf between us, a division that eventually made everybody to stand alone.
Empapemu a ede ema yenyini to ape empapemu a edi bohwa ebetoto yemu yehu empapemu a ema yenyini a ne yenyini eno ana ye yenkabo a yekabo mu no ese ye kura.
Yes, both sides succeeded in satisfying their own personal things.
Afanunu mi nyina no edi nkunim e wa bra de omo ankasa pe no onya ho chefa.
The end result is what we are seeing.
Ewiye no de yehunu yi.
Where those who are for national office and those who are against.
Ewiye anade firimu ba ene de yehunu ya enuanum bi ekasa se omo pe tie nyina yenya bofokasem national office ana ebinum nso kasetia se di kwanse ye ne sa.
So those who want a national office are more skewed toward liberal and craving for more ways of, attracting others and perhaps doing their own things without any respect to the Lord's word.
Womwa omani breye na omo kabo mu se da bi ye pe national office bofokasa mu no ombeye nkofo a afe omo de omo ho ma bofokasa de fe ni liberalism se de yengugu niemam yema ba niemam yema kwan ma niema pi enwura ye mu ne yensesa niemam saa nkurɔfoɔ no saa na ɔmo hyɛ aseɛ yɛ ɔmo deɛ.
And the other side that seem to say that their gains also grew more conservative and became more extra conservative and perhaps binding where the Lord has not bound.
Na wɔn nso a na ɛkasa tia no bɛyɛ nkurɔfoɔ a dane dan nyinaa ɔmo mpene nsesaeɛ so, ɔmo mpene ɛma kwan ma biribiara nsesa wadwene. Na nyɛ no nko ɔmo kɔɔ so ma ekoduru mpɛmpɛnsoɔ mpo a deɛ Nyankopɔn ɛnhyɛeɛ no na ɔmo deɛ na ɔmo hyɛ na ɔmo ayɛ nkurɔfoɔ a deɛ Nyankopɔn ama kwan no ɔmo si daabi da onipa yɛnnima mieni so yɛnhyɛ ho.
Brethren, this is not the first time a situation like that is happening to Christendom.
Minyanum, ɛnyɛ wei ne bere di kan a biribi ɛte saa ɛsi wɔ Kristosom mu.
It is not the first time that division and various factions have been created in the Lord's church.
Ɛnyɛ bere di nkan nie a mpapamu ɛne ntetimu ahyɛ aseɛ sɔre ɛwɔ Kristo n'asafo mu.
Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, we're reading from the verse 10, he said, "Now I plead with you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you all speak the same thing, that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment."
Na Paul ɛtwerɛ krataa ɛkɔma Corinth na wɔ Korintofo mu edi nkan edu ne mu etie baako ne mu edu ɛba no sɛ na anuanom menam Awurade Yesu Kristo din so mitumfo sɛ mo nyinaa nyɛ no korɔ na mpapamu ama mo mu na mmom mabɔ mo awie pɛyɛ adwene korɔ ne susua korɔ mu.
For it has been declared to me concerning you, my brethren, by those of Chloe's household, that there are contentions among you.
Na minyanom Chloe fiefo abeyi me ho asotire sɛ apere wɔ mo mu.
Now this I say, that each of you say I am of Paul, or I am of Apollos, or I am Cephas, or I am of Christ.
Na mini yei sɛ mu biara ka sɛ me deɛ meyɛ Paulo deɛ, me deɛ meyɛ Apollo deɛ, me deɛ meyɛ Kefa deɛ, na me deɛ meyɛ Kristo deɛ.
Is Christ divided?
Wapaepae Kristo mu anaa?
Brethren, I know that there are several reasons for which there will be withdrawal of fellowship.
Minyanom, minim sɛ yɛwɔ nyanu bebree ananu yie bebree nti a ɛbɛma yɛatwe yɛn ho afiri anuanom ho.
I know there are countless reasons why someone will stand on the position of withdrawing fellowship.
Na minim sɛ yɛwɔ nsɛm bebree a yɛbɛka a yɛbɛtumi akyerɛ sɛ wei nti ana wɔ sɛ yɛtwe yɛn ho afiri anuanom ho.
But brethren, tonight I want you to bear with me.
Minyanom, anumere mepɛ sɛ utie me paa.
I want you to bear with me having the words of Paul at the back of your mind in 2 Corinthians chapter 11.
Na mepɛ sɛ utie me paa ɛwɔ abere a wode ɔsomafoɔ Paul asɛm a ɔka wɔ Korintofo mu ɛtɔ so mmienu eti du baako no ɛhyɛ wadwene po akyi.
He said, "Oh, that you would bear with me in a little fully."
Na sɛ anka muhu me nkwasi asɛm ma me kakra.
And indeed, you bear with me.
Nanso muhu no ma me ara.
For I am jealous for you with godly jealousy.
Na ninku a metwe mo ho no metwe no Nyankopɔn ho ninku.
For I have betrothed you to one husband.
Na magye ma wade mama ɔbarima baako.
That I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ.
Na sɛdeɛ na sɛ mede ababaawa a efinka no mede kɔma Kristo.
That what I seek tonight is that, brethren, we all come together as one family in a wisdom of oneness and looking for ways to sustain our church and to grow it in Ghana.
The person on channel so and they say and I dem hwehwe and say nyina ye be kan bom abamu baako say busua baako na yen kabomu no ye obutai baako see ye person ye de asafo no si ho na enyini e wo Ghana.
Like I said, I am not an old man,
Say na metwe wadwen gina so no me mo akokora kora.
but I saw Dr. Oppong.
Then so mi hunu osapakani Dr. Oppong.
I saw Dan Ampedu Esiama.
Mi hunu osapakani Dan Ampedu Esiama.
I saw the brethren who labored and toiled their lives for the growth of the church.
Mi hunu enuanom a opti omoje nie na obreye ye adwuma den ema asore no se begina.
Brethren, after all these years, there have been growing concerns that are either dividing us all the more or making us more like a denomination.
Minyanom mfie pii akire no ye nyinyini niema pii e wo ho a ahwehwe yaso a de ebeti bia no na de eye nyina ne se etiti emu ana se emaya dane abeye nipa nsafo ahodo a etwa ye ho ahia.
Paul, as a prophet, or call it an apostle, witnessed a lot of troubles.
Osapakani Paul ana osmafo Paul a we friend so osmafo no ono nzu hu e how bebre a e ba no so abra otiase.
In fact, he wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, the verse 21 following.
Na afi otroy wo Korintofo homa etosu mienu no eti du baako ni yimu aduonu baako no kono.
He said, to our shame, I say what we're too weak for that.
Osime kano eniwo mu se yen de wayemre.
But in whatever anyone is bold, I speak foolishly. I am bold also.
Nanso de obiya nam wo mu no me kan nkwasi asem me nso me ye nam wo mu bi.
Are you Hebrews?
Waye Hebrewfo.
So I am.
Me nso me ye Hebrew ye bia.
Are they Israelites?
Waye Israelfo.
So I am.
Me nso me ye bi.
Are they the seed of Abraham? So I
Waye
am.
Abraham asefo. Me nso me ye bi.
Are they ministers of Christ?
Waye Kristo asomfo.
I speak as a fool. I am more.
Me kan nkwasi mu me kyane sa.
In labors more abundant.
Obre dwuma ebro so mu.
In stripes above measure.
Efiase da ebro so mu.
In prisons more frequently, in death often.
Ohwe a etraso ne awuamane a manya ne huye mu.
From the Jews 5 times I received 40 stripes minus 1.
Judafo nsem wabome ma adaduanan a waka so biako mprenum.
When you jump to the verse 26, it says, in journeys often.
Ose akwantuo pii mu.
In perils of water.
Esubontin so esan mu.
Perils of robbers.
Adutwafo esan mu.
In perils of my own countrymen.
Amanifo mu esan mu.
In perils of the Gentiles.
Amanamanfo mu esan mu.
Verse 27, in weariness and toil.
Yimu aduonu so no se adwuma ne obre mu.
In sleepless nights often.
Apesire mu.
And he say in hunger and thirst. In fasting often.
Ekom ne sukom ebuade pii mu.
In cold and nakedness.
Awo ne adagya mu.
Beside the other things,
De eka ho nyina na nchen.
What comes upon me daily?
De hye me so
my deep concern for all the churches.
Ne asafo no nyinaa ho dadwene.
Brethren, I am not a very old man,
Me nuanom menya obi a oba kokora,
but I have traveled to almost all the regions in Ghana, except the
nanso
two northern regions.
machini Ghana afani kuro ahodo kuro mantam nyinaa eka atifi mantam kuro mantam mienu a wosoro ho no.
And I have seen these growing concerns, and I want to share with you and find solution together with you.
Na we ni de mede mani ehunu efa nioma a ebobo ba ene nioma a ahwehwe adwene na ha adwene e won safo mu a me pese me ne mo che ne yefa ne pon subire.
I have listed about 15 growing concerns in Ghana.
Makuruchire wo me homa mu nioma dunum a me pese ye bobo so ne yesua ho ade.
But before I begin,
Na nsa na mehyaste no,
journey with me, if you will, to First Chronicles chapter 12.
Famini ko na yentum di kan ko Chronicle homa no ana breso sem homa edi nkan no eti dumienu.
And I wanted to read the verse 32.
Na me pese making kan yi mu aduasa mienu no.
There was a tribal war going on among the children of Israel.
Na mente me ho asenti ntokwa asore e o Israel musiakuo mu.
And these families were fighting among themselves.
Na abusua ni ekuakuo yi ku won ho.
And it happened after King Saul died.
Na esiye abra Saulo a na odi hene wo Israel no ewuo.
But it got to a time they realized the need to come together and to look at their common goal and their common mission.
Na edurubere bi a wo mu nyinaa hu hia se wo kabom kafam ho na omudwene de beboa oman no yeyo.
And so all the tribes of Israel came together and they met with David at Hebron.
Na omu nyinaa abusua ni nyinaa be hia mu na omu ni David e be hia e obiaye a ye fre ni Hebron.
And they pledged their allegiance to King David.
Ana omu yi wo nyinaa ewe ana se omu nyinaa edi omu vote ana allegiance bro kasa mu edi ma ohene David.
Brethren, this is what I want us to do on this day as we go through the digital lectureship.
Enyanom we na me pese ye ede ya ye tie digital lectureship yi.
That we pledge our allegiance to the Lord Jesus Christ.
I was say ye de hu nyinaa na ye biara ehye ye Awurade Yesu Kristo nsase ye bedi na chire.
And tell ourselves these words that are spoken of the tribe of Issachar.
Na ye ka nsam a Isaka a oye busua mu baako kan ye.
And these were the words that were written of them. The verse 32.
We ni nsam a otwere fa ho yi mu aduasa mienu no ka se.
Of the sons of Issachar who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do.
Osina Isaka mamu nipa a woye mmere mu hunfo se obehunu de ese Israel yo no.
Their chiefs were 200 and all their brethren were at their command.
Won etitire ahanum na wonyanum nyina tie won.
Brethren, these brethren were people who were leading their own members and pushing them to do what is right for the Lord.
Minyanom sa enyanum a ye kan mo asem obraso sem ha yi no. Omo ye nkofo mbobo omo anyanum na omo se won ema omo ye de ye.
In fact, the Bible says that they were people who had understanding of the times.
Bible no kasa won ho se wo mo ye nkrofo a wo ye emmere humufo.
And so they knew what Israel ought to do at that time.
Nti omo hunu de esese Israel eyo saa bre no.
Brethren, after COVID, we have witnessed almost about 3 to 4 years.
Nyanom yare bone COVID chire no ye hunu mfie be enan achi abetwam.
Yet our churches seem not to have recovered from the shocks and the losses we had during these periods.
Nanso yen nsafo ahodo ni nyina no COVID ne koba twa mu yi yentimi free COVID ni mu enyina bio sele na yete kane.
There has not been a conscious effort to redeem ourselves from the shocks and to rebuild our churches.
Yenwene ho na yentena asen hyeda ti yepese yesi asori no biom se na yete abra COVID for infie na achi abetwa mu kono.
I pledge to be a one man who stand for the Lord and to be ready to embrace whoever want to stand with the Lord.
Ma me nsa so se okontonkro me pese me gina Awurade afa na metwe anuanom so opese o megina Awurade afa nyina begina ho na yesi Onyankopɔn asafo no.
And if we can do that, we need to address these 15 concerns.
Na se betima ye saa de yi a ade se saa nyoma edunum a me bobo suei no ye betimi adwene ho na ya pɛ anosibre.
Number one, concern number one is delay in selecting of elders.
Die din kan me pese ye hye ne nso ene ntwentwen so a ye twentwen so ewo asafonum panyimfo yie ho.
Churches in Ghana are growing.
Nsafo wo Kristo asafo wo Ghana no ye nyini.
I have not traveled to many countries.
Mintu kwan enko nkro oman ahodo bebre mu.
But I have witnessed the brethren in Togo, the brethren in Ghana, the brethren in the United States.
Nanso bahunu anuanom a omo wo Togo ana mahunu anuanom a wo Ghana ana mahunu anuanom nso a omo wo America mamu.
And I have friends all over to know what is going on in various countries and in the various churches.
No wo nanfo ewo aman ahodo bebre so a omo sori nyame ewo Kristo nasafo ewo aman ahodo bebre so a omo ma me hunu niam a ekoso ewo nsafo no mu.
I can say without data or much research to back my saying, but I can say that from what I've witnessed, Ghana holds a lot of strong churches beside the United States.
Obetimi aka esisu pen ewo abra oni enkontanto ano a eta na kire se ohwe aman ahodo nyina so a ekamia ye se wi America ejina nchen a Ghana no ewo nsafo a omo ho den pi ewo mu.
We have an average of 250 members in most churches in Ghana.
So ohwe Ghana nsafo ahodo a etwa hia no a Kristo nasafo ahodo a etwa hia ewo Ghana no a ubu nkonta ato ano a yedodo wo efamu no eye tu oha mienu ehun nkonta ho.
And the point is that you may have an extra large congregation, like from 700 to 1,000, and there are few congregations that are like that.
Ebi a wo de na okro no na omoye ohanson ekona pem so na nsafo kakra bi na wo sa tebia no.
And we have congregations that range between 400 to 699.
Yewo nsafo nhodo nso a omoye ahanan ene wo mo nso a omoye ahansia a edantam sa.
There are congregations that are below 400 but somewhere around 200.
Yewo nsafo nso a omododo no omoba fom omunuru ahanan no but omoya embe ahamienu eko na hanan so.
Sometimes you meet congregation that are about 120 and 150, and they see themselves as a small congregation.
Ebi ha uhunu nsafo ahodo bi a ebi abohum na omo ye oha ene enum ana oha ene aduonum oha ho nanso so omo hu se omo ye nsafo a omo sua.
A small congregation in Ghana may be somewhere below 80 or somewhere around 60, 70, or 50.
Asafo a esua e Ghana no be ye asafo a ebi a no dodo no bu nkontam a omo ye aduosia ana ne fom so.
Brethren, the point is that these congregations that we see to be small congregations are more like a medium size or a large congregation in the United States.
Minyanom no kwasem ewo mu ni se nsafo ahodo a ebi a ye omubu omo ho se omo ye ketwa e Ghana ha no ebi wo ho a na omo ye adantem e America mamu.
And so why is it that congregations here in the United States are able to elect elders within that number, but we have large congregations like 400, 500, 600 in Ghana, yet we can have elders among ourselves?
Na ne nkonta nto anu mu no de o kire ne se adenti ana America ho a de asori omo dantem kura ye ketwa ten aduosia nanso so omo timi yi asafompanyimfo nanso ba Ghana ha yi a nsafo no bi ohanan ohanum ohansia nanso on timi nyi asafompanyimfo.
These are growing concerns.
We ade ehwehwe aso a wo se edwene ho.
The churches are not doing anything to get elders.
Ason nsafo ahodo nyina bebre na enye wadwene na omo otimu mpo se opa asafopanyini.
When Paul wrote to Titus in Titus 1 verse 5,
Na Paul tro koma Tito awo Tito homa no etire baako ni mu num no.
he told him that he left him at Crete to set in all the things that were lacking in the congregation.
Oka kire no se ye nti na mede wugya Kreta na wasiesie nyoma aka no pepepe na wasisi kro bia so panyini se de me hye wo.
Tito was a teacher or a preacher in this congregation.
Titus we osapakani ana ochechefo a na owo asafo yi mu.
And this Titus, he told him to set in order the things that were lacking.
Okache Tito se onsiesie nyoma aka no pepepe.
Question: if the preacher is there and things are moving on his teaching and preaching, what again was lacking?
Se osapakani ni wo ho na oye ni dwuma okanya mesem okyerɛkyerɛ ede abio ana aka e wo se osiesie.
Well, what was left was someone to have authority to oversee the congregation.
De na aka eye nkofuku a obenya tumi se obehwe nsafo no so.
And so for the congregation to be there without eldership, it doesn't matter how good the preacher is, that congregation is still lacking.
Sa asori bi betena se na asapakani di ni dwuma wonnam okanya mesem ye ni dwuma die nyina pepepa. So asori no eya asori a otosini adentia oni mpanyimfo.
Brethren, that's a concern that we need to pray about.
Minyanom sa de we ade a hwehwe aso so ye bo ho paye.
Because if the churches are not growing, there are some fundamental reasons why they are not growing.
Na se asori no enyini a ene e fapem nyoma bi anamfom ho nyoma bi e wo ho a ese ye hwe a enkoyie.
Brethren, it stems from lack of spiritual leadership.
Minyanom ehyase efiri ananinti e wo honhom ni animu sem a atosini e wo yabrabo mu.
Because if eldership are not there, this preacher whom people may see as doing great will still be lacking.
Se mpanimfo a eni aso ni mu a ana asafo mpanimfo ni wa otapakani a yehunu se oyi ni dwuma ana woye nam yi etorokoso kra no a ohia bribi e wa aso nim ana otosini e wa aso nim.
Brethren, he may be overwhelmed with the work.
Nyema pi betimi abu afa no so adwuma no ho.
He needs help.
Ohia mmoa.
And that help is what the Lord has instituted, that we set in order things that are lacking and ordain elders in every congregation.
Ɛno ana Nyankopɔn ahyehyɛ ato hɔ na saa mmoa no Nyankopɔn ahyɛ sɛ onyi asɔre biara mu mpanyini.
And so if we are not having elders, then it means that we're not going by the commands of our Lord.
Enti sɛ yenyi asafo mpanyimfo a ɛne na deɛ ewura no aka akyerɛ yɛn no yɛmpɛ sɛ yɛbedi soɔ.
Is it a sin not to have elders?
Mfomsoɔ wɔ ho sɛ wo deɛ wonyi asafo mpanyimfo anaa?
Well, it becomes a sin if you deliberately decide not to do and obey what the Lord commands.
Ɛbɛyɛ mfomsoɔ wɔ abere a wahyɛ da na waboa pa sɛ wabɔ wo tirim sɛ wonyi asafo mpanyimfo.
But if the church is just lacking and there are no men to come into the position of eldership, then so be it.
Na sɛ asɔre no wie nyini na yɛni mmarima a wɔn ho akokwa na wɔfata sɛ yɛyi wɔn sɛ asafo mpanyimfoɔ deɛ a ɛneɛ dɛ ɛno ano no.
But the question is, what did we do or what has been done in that congregation to satisfy the option of not having elders at all?
Asɛmusa a ɛba m'adwene mu ɛne sɛ deɛ ne yɛayɛ anaa deɛ ne yɛayɛ a ɛbɛtumi aboa na fam tosini a yɛatosini wei mu no yɛbɛtumi ahyɛ hɔ na yɛduru susuo a Nyankopɔn pɛ sɛ yɛduru soɔ.
If we have gone through the congregation and realized that, okay, this congregation is not having elders because there have been several attempts and they never got anyone, then I think I need to shut up when it comes to that.
Sɛ yɛato yɛni ahwɛ nsafo ahodoɔ no mu bi na yɛhunu sɛ asɔre wei ɔmabɔ mmɔden atɔ kɔ so ahwɛhwɛ sɛ ɔmɛtumi anya asafo mpanyimfoɔ ɔmayɛ ne baako ne mmienu ne mprɛnsa so ɛbɛduru hɔ still na onyanya nkurɔfoɔ a ɔfata sɛ oyi wɔn sɛ mpanyimfoɔ deɛ a ɛneɛ ɛwɔ sɛ memu ama no.
But brethren, when it becomes a business as usual and nobody cares to institute what is right, what the Lord has commanded, then it is a growing concern.
Na me nuanom sɛ ɛkɔyɛ sɛ obiara twi n'ani na daa ne daa nyinaa yɛhyiam sɔre Awurade na yɛadwene yɛ sɛ yɛyɛ okay anaa yɛyɛ satisfied sɛ borɔfo kasa ne ka no a ɛneɛ na ɛyɛ ade a ɛhwehwe yɛ aso a wɔsɛ yɛhwɛ n'akyiri.
The question is, why are we not having these elders? Is it because the preacher is afraid to have elders?
Asɛmusa a mebusa ne sɛ adɛn nti ane yɛmpɛ sɛ yɛbɛyi asafo mpanyimfoɔ yi asɛmpakani ne suro?
Or is it because the members just don't want someone to rule over them?
Anaasɛ asafo mma no mpɛ obi a ɔbɛbɛdi wɔn so?
Or is it because the brethren are not interested in serving the Lord as shepherd for the Lord?
Anaasɛ asafo mma no mpɛ sɛ ɔbɛnya ɔhwɛfoɔ bi ama ahwɛ wɔn so?
I have a question for you.
Mewɔ asɛmbusa bi a mewɔ ma wo.
Why don't you have elders in your congregation?
Adɛn nti ana baabi a wosɔre Nyankopɔn no muni asafo mpanyimfoɔ?
What are the reasons why the church there, after 40 years, after 50 years, after 30 years, after 20 years, after 10 years, have not been able to elect elders?
Asɔre a baabi a wohyia hɔ no adɛn nti ana mfeɛ 10, mfeɛ 20, mfeɛ 30, mfeɛ 40, mfeɛ 50, mfeɛ 60 akyi ɛnso montimi nyi asafo mpanyimfoɔ anaa mompa obi?
And brethren, there is a concern that we allow some kind of brethren to more like become a semi elders.
Anuanom bi so ɛsɔre na ɔka sɛ wɔ yɛmma nkurɔfoɔ bi ɔmo a ɔmo nya asafo mpanyimfoɔ deɛ nanso ɔmo nya neanimufoɔ bi na ɔmo ndi ɔmo dwuma sɛ asafo mpanyimfoɔ but ɔmo nya asafo mpanyimfoɔ.
Do I have a biblical rule to say that this is wrong?
Mewɔ Bible ano yie anaa Bible ɛkwan bi a metumi agyina so aka sɛ deɛ saa deɛ ɔmo yie ɛyɛ bɔne anaa?
No.
Dabi da.
But I can tell you that the church will continue to struggle until we are obedient to what the Lord commands.
nanso de metimi aka ene se asɔre no bedi abesi apini ana asɔre no bekoso abrɛ on ekopim se ye be sitie ama awurade.
Growing concern number 2.
De to so mienu a mepese metwe adwugina so.
Making some organizations bigger than the local church.
Yenya ekuo bi a omoso ekere asɔre a ewon patamu.
And if you have observed, perhaps from where you fellowship or where you worship with the brethren, you may have heard about various kinds of groupings in the church in general.
Se udu wani atofom din e obiaye a ana amantam ana kuro a wo sori nyame wo mu a obetimi ahunu se ye wo kuo bi a omoso tene asɔre na ewon patamu.
And so you hear things like youth fellowship, whatever, and their name is more like an association or a group.
Na obeti bibi edin bi te se emabunu kuo ana se emabunu union bofokasa mu a omo de omo ho bo din a otatie.
You may hear about a preachers fellowship.
Obetimi ate se asempakafo kuo.
You may hear something like women groupings or women fellowship.
Obeti emma kuo ana emma nkabom kuo.
And brethren, all these groupings put themselves as inter-congregational groupings.
Sa kuo nyina no omo so echen asafo a won patamu baako.
They see themselves as inter-congregational.
Endi nsafo ahodo na omo dantamo omo enya nkwakwo ni bi firi ha na omanya bi afiri ha na omanya bi afiri ha nti omo da asafo no ntem.
And what they see themselves is that they see themselves as not part of any local congregation.
Na omo ho se omo nhye asori biara e won patamu biara se.
And so they are not under any congregation, yet they have members coming from local congregations around.
Omo ni asori omo nhye asori a won patamu biara se. Nanso so omo nim nipa no omo fifiri nsafo ahodo bebre a etwa omo ho ahia.
And sometimes leadership in various local congregations receive letters from these groupings, these associations, these fellowships, kind of ordering them or requesting some kind of things from the local congregation.
Pepi no eya ansafo ahodo a etwa e ho ahia no omo ni animufo enya krata efiri ekuaku ahodo yi a omo da nsafo yi ntam yi se omo gibiribi efiri omo ho ana omo hwehwe biribi efiri omo ho.
And so you hear something like Zone 6 Youth Group or Zone 7 Youth Group or Zone 10 Youth Group or District Youth Group or the Preachers Fellowship writing letters to the leadership of various congregations, calling on them to come to a program or to allow them to come and do something in their local congregation.
Etubeti ibi wo abohunu zone 1 group, zone 1 youth group, preachers 1 group, association 1 omo tworo krata ama local congregation yi na omo ka kire local congregations mpanyimfo se omo makwan na omo nipa no emmara emedi dwuma bi emma omo ana omo mra dwuma die bi.
Brethren, sometimes these brethren organize fasting and prayers, they organize all night prayers, they do all sort of things, and they control whatever they do without any congregation having oversight responsibility on their work.
Minyanom sa kuo ahodo yi ehyiam ebom paye omo hyiam da ahomache ana adwo nyina bom paye ana omo yidi dwuma ahodo bebre dwuma de omo di nyina omo na da no dandane no yenni asori biara e won patamu a ohwe omo dwumadi a omo die so.
Some of them take contributions and dues from their members and they manage it in their own way without being accountable to any oversight eldership.
Sa kuo ya ahodo nyina jeje ntoboa efiri wɔn a ɛne wɔn bokuo no ɛhɔ na sika ne toa ɔmagyegye ne ɔmaboaboa no nyinaa no ɔmo atoto no sɛnea ɔmo ara pɛ na ɔmo ni obiara a ɔmo bu nkontaa kyerɛ no sɛ ɛyɛ asɔre panyin bi o ɔmo ni nkontaa bi obiara kyerɛ obiara.
And some of these youth and young guys think themselves of higher pedigree, say that they think that they are above the local congregation.
Na emu mmeranteɛ ne mmabaawa a ɔmo dada saa nneɛma n'ano ne ɔmo didi saa nneɛma no mu na adwene ba sɛ ɔmo so kyɛn mpanyinfoɔ mpo ne anaa nsafo a wɔn mpatamu hɔ no ɔmo soso kyɛn wɔn mu nipafoɔ.
But it must be known to everybody listening to me that there is no organization or union or unity that is above the local congregation.
Minyanom obiara wotie mu nhyɛ ne nso sɛ yɛni kuo biara ɛboro asɔre a ɛwɔ mpatamu no ɛso.
These groupings are growing wings in the churches of Christ.
Saa kuo ahodoɔ yi efu ntaban ɛwɔ Kristo n'asafo mu.
And they think of themselves as so important that the things that the local congregation can be doing.
Ɔmo dwene ɔmo ho sɛ ɔmo hihia to the kosi sɛ nneɛma a asafo wɔ mpatamu no ɛyɛ no ɛno na ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo gye yɛ.
Brethren, the people who are in the leadership of the women fellowship group, they see the work of the fellowship more important than the local congregation that they are a part of.
Mmaa a ɔmo di dwuma ɛwɔ mmaa kuo mu dwumadie mu nyinaa no ebere bi wɔ hɔ a ɔmo hunu sɛ ekuo no nneɛma a ɔmo yɛ no ɛho hia ɛkyɛn dwumadie a mpo asafo wɔn mpatamu no die no ɛho hia kyɛn.
They may not go to a local congregation to go and worship, but they would never miss a women fellowship meeting.
Ɔmo bi wɔ hɔ a ɔmo mma asɔre nanso mmaa kuo nhyia mu deɛ ɔmo nhwere da.
Brethren, this is a growing concern.
Minyanom wei ade a ɛwɔ sɛ yɛni bere ne ɛhwɛ ho ka asɛm ka.
And the sad result is that these people look down upon their local leadership.
Na deɛ firi mu ba ɛne sɛ wɔ saa nkɔfoɔ yi no ɔmo bu ɔmo kuo asafo a ɛwɔ mpatamu no ɔmo ne animufoɔ no abomfia.
Brethren, a youth fellowship is nothing and has no place before the Lord than the local congregation.
Minyanom mmabunu kuo a ɔmo wayɛ ɔmo ho sɛ ɔmo yɛ asafo da ntamu no ɔmo nyɛ biribiara ɛnkyɛn Kristo n'asafo a ɛwɔ mpatamu.
The women fellowship or the preachers fellowship is nothing than the local congregation of the lost church.
Asapakafoɔ kuo ana mmaa kuo ana kuo ahodoɔ bi ɛda asafo ntamu no ɛnso ɛnkyɛn asafo biara a ɛwɔ mpatamu.
I can tell you that if people can apportion 50% of their zeal and their enthusiasm to work in these groupings into the local congregations, we may be seeing a lot of growth in our churches.
Sɛ wɔn a wɔde ahoɔden ahyɛ saa ekuo ahodoɔ yi mu no ɔmo de ɔmo ahoɔden nkyekyɛmu fa aduonum ɛde boa asɔre no a ɛwɔ ne mpatamu ana asɔre no a wɔkorɔ no a na wɔde hyɛ wɔn dwumadie mu a nyini ɛbɛhyɛ aseɛ yɛbɛhunu.
Brethren, what are we doing about these things?
Minyanom deɛ ne yɛyɛ fa saa nneɛma wei ho.
If you are among those groupings, if you are among those fellowship groupings, when was the last time? Yeah, go.
Sɛ wokasafoɔ yi ho a anaa wokasa kuo yi ho a ɛbrɛ bɛn na edi etwa to a
you sat down to think about your local congregation and how it will grow and the role that you can play to make it grow less than what you did for that fellowship or that group that you are a part of.
Ɛbrɛ bɛn na etwa to a wotena aseɛ na wodwene deɛ wobɛtumi ayɛ na aboa asɔre a wokorɔ ɛwɔ wɔn mpatamu no na waboa na ma ne nyini akɔ so anade na wobɛtumi ayɛ ana obotaye ne de ana de na obetimi ade aboa saa story no dan say wo dwene de obeye e wo ekuoku ahodo a ukobie.
May the Lord make us brethren and people of the Issachar family.
Ma Awurade nyɛ yɛn sɛnea ɔyɛ Isaka abusua no.
That we may know what ought to be done in our time.
Na yɛhunu deɛ ɛwɔ sɛ yɛyɛ yɛbrɛ yi mu.
For the local congregation, rather than other associations that the Bible does not recognize.
For nsafo a ɛwɔ yɛn mpata mu kyɛn sɛ yɛbɛyɛ deɛ ekuokuo no ani gye anaa deɛ ɔmo hwehwɛ fi yɛn hɔ na ɛnyɛ Awurade deɛ.
The third growing concern in Ghana is
Deɛ ɛtɔ so mmiɛnsa a ɛhwehwɛ mu aso a mepɛ sɛ mema ɔhyɛ ne nso ɛne
church registration issues.
asɔre din twerɛtwerɛ a ɛho nsɛm bobɔbobɔaeɛ.
Brethren, this fight has been since, I would say, about 2011.
Saa ɛho apreapere yi ahyɛseɛ mfie mpem mmienu ɛne edu baako akyi.
And I can probably say that I have been a very, very instrumental in this whole thing since 2011.
Minyanom na metimi aka sɛ me obi a mede me ho gyi mu paa efiri mfie 2011 sɛ ɔkae no efiri saa brɛ no kɔ na mede me ho agyi mu abesisɛsɛ.
From the time that we met at Bunso to discuss the issue,
Efiri brɛ a yɛkɔhyiaeɛ wɔ kuro bi a yɛfrɛ no Bunso a yɛbɛdwenedwene asɛm no ho.
to the time that we met with the elders at Bomso,
Ekopim brɛ a yɛkɔhyia asafo mpanyimfo a na ɛwɔ bɔm so.
to the time of preachers in Kumasi joining together at a doom to deliberate on this matter with
Ekopim brɛ a asapakafoɔ bi hyiaeɛ wɔ adum ɛkɔdwendwen saa nsɛm no ho.
and trying to link up with elders in Kumasi to be able to have more discussions in the various congregations that had eldership.
Ɛne bɔ ɔmɔden biara sɛ ɔbɛtumi ne nsɔre ahodoɔ a ɛwɔ asɔre mpanyimfoɔ bebree atena aseɛ na ɔmadwendwene saa nsɛm yi ho.
To my days in Sunyane, when this issue came up and preachers were divided upon where to stand,
Kɔpem mɛbrɛ a na medi me dwuma ɛwɔ Sunyane a saa asɛm yi saa bobɔ baa bio a asɛmpakafoɔ no mpo no emu bebree na ɔmo nhunu baabi a ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo gyina.
to the level of leadership at Insan Road, when we gathered with serious contentions between us and some brethren concerning church registration.
Ɛkɔpem mɛbrɛ mpo a na medi me dwuma ɛwɔ Nsan Road a ɛbɛbɔ baeɛ a yɛdwendwen saa nsɛm ho akyi wɔhyew pii ɛsɔreeɛ ɛwɔ yɛn mu na yɛgye kyin bebree a mpo na asafo no mu mma bi ɛka ho a yɛdwendwendwen ho.
To my visit to the Registrar General's office to have a discussion on what is going on in my church and what they can do to help us with regards to church registration.
Ɛne sɛ ɔno ankasa bɔɔ kɔntene ɛkɔɔ aban ne amusifoɔ a ɔregister nkurɔfoɔ a abɔfra sɛ mefrɛ no Registrar General a ɔno ara tintim twerɛtwerɛ nkurɔfoɔ din ekuokuo ahodoɔ din na obusabusa no nsɛm a ɛfa asɔre din twerɛtwerɛ ho ɛne deɛ obetumi ayɛ aboa asafo a ɔno kɔ bie no.
And brethren, there's one conclusion that I came up with.
Minyanom esibire baako ana adwenfoa baako ana mebegyinae.
We are fighting over no issue.
Minyanom yɛko ade a bibia ni mu.
We are fighting over no issue.
Minyanom yɛko ade a bibia ni mu.
Except the issue of lies, the issue of personalities, the issue of personal interest, and the issue of disregard to the Lord's word.
Adeɛ wɔ mu ara yɛ atorɔ a anuanom ne mfuturo a amanfoɔ tu gu anuanom anie ne aduade adwuma a yɛmpɛ sɛ yɛbɛyɛ anaa yɛbu yɛn ani agu soɔ ho ɛno nkutoo na ahunu wɔ saa nsɛnsɛm no mu.
And sadly, up to today, church registration is still an issue among the churches.
Na ebesi nne yi asɔre ɛde ntwerɛtwerɛ anaa aborɔfo kasɛm church registration no ɛyɛ asɛm seesei a ɛsensɛn yɛ kɔn mu.
And sadly, that issue has divided the churches of Christ more than anything ever in the 20th and the 21st century.
Na bibia ni hɔ a n'adwene mu no atete Kristo n'asafo ntɛm paa kyene asɔre edi ntwerɛtwerɛ a efiri 20th century bɔfo kasɛm sɛ nea ɔka no ɛne 21st century no bibia ni hɔ efiri ya pɛn so yi no bibia ni hɔ atete asɔre no ntɛm kyɛn saa de no.
Brethren, I have sat in meetings to discuss and look for solutions.
Minya no matena hyiaeɛ bea adwendwene saa nneɛma wei a yɛsusu ho a yɛpɛ kwanusubire.
And what I realized is that members, including elders and preachers, have grown to the point where I can say that they are not ready to listen to anybody.
Mehunu na misua hunu sɛ mpanyimfoɔ asafo mpanyimfoɔ asɛpakafoɔ ɛne asɔre mma nyinaa nso aduru ebi bebree na aduru mpɛmpɛnso a na ebinom aduru mpɛmpɛnso a wɔmpɛ sɛ wotie obi koraa na enya kwanusubire.
And this is one thing I realized in my visit to the Registrar General.
Adeɛ baako a mehunu yɛ abere a mepinkyɛn Registrar General for no.
I met one head of legal affairs called Mr. Joseph Tamaklo.
Mikohyia obi a ɔyɛ mmeranimfoɔ a ɔda mmeranimfoɔ no ho ano a ne din de Joseph Tamaklo.
And he said these words that saddened my heart.
Na ɔka asɛm wei a ɛhoo me werɛ paa.
He said, if your leaders are saying that we have called on anybody to do church registration, then they are liars and not fit to be leaders.
Ɔka kyerɛ me sɛ mo mpanyimfo a wɔn asafo mu no sɛ ɔmo se aban se mo mɛtwerɛtwerɛ mo din ana aban afrɛfrɛ ɛɛto huu sɛ obi amɛtwerɛtwerɛ ne din a ɛne ɔbɛka kyerɛ yɛn pɛn sɛ saa nkɔfoɔ no ɔmo yɛ atorofoɔ na ɔmo mfata sɛ ɔmo yɛ mpanyimfoɔ.
And I told him that they are not liars.
Na meka kyerɛ no sɛ ɔmo nyɛ atorofoɔ.
They may have missed some information.
Na ebia nsɛm no bi ana ayera wɔn.
And brethren, he continued by saying that in this modern age, why will we believe them if government wanted us to do something? Why is he calling on only the Church of Christ and not all the churches in Ghana?
Na ɔka kyerɛ me sɛ sɛ aban ɛpɛ biribi sɛ aban asɔre nyinaa mɛtwerɛtwerɛ wɔn din a adɛn ana wayi Kristo n'asafo nko ara sɛ wɔmɛtwerɛtwerɛ wɔn mu din na nka wɔmfrɛ nsafosafo ahodoɔ nyinaa.
And that kind of hit me.
Na saa asɛm wei ɛhwe me bo.
And so I came back with the intention of really sitting with brethren to find a permanent solution to this.
Na meba m'akyi ɛne me nuanom bɛtena ase sɛ yɛmpɛ sɛ mpensimu ne yɛmfa kwanusibere ɛwɔ asɛm wei ho.
And brethren, this is what I can say about it.
Na so me nuanom wei na metumi aka.
The constitution that has been written to do this church registration was written with a purpose of simply changing the organizational structure of the church.
Mmara kunini a omatintim ana yetintim a yɛde pɛ sɛ yɛde register ana yɛde twerɛ asɔre din ɛwɔ aban mu no ɛyɛ ade a yɛtwerɛ no na wohwɛ ne din a ɔtwerɛ yɛ sɛ ɔde bɛsesa asɔre nhyehyɛeɛ a Nyankopɔn asɛm ɛka ne pefee no.
And brethren, we have had several brethren meeting on this, and the conclusion that, like I said, came up with was that, is there an alternative to be able to do this church registration? And the answer was yes. But people rejected any other form of registration that will not allow a change of the organizational structure of the church.
Adwentoatoa anaa nhyiamu a ehyiamu ne adwendwen nneɛma ho nyinaa no, adwentoatoa no nyinaa mu no, deɛ yɛkɔbaeɛ nyinaa ne sɛ yɛhwehwɛɛ sɛ yɛbenya ɛkwan foforɔ bi a yɛbɛtumi akɔtwerɛ yɛn din ɛwɔ abere a ɛnha asɔre no nhyehyɛeɛ a Nyankopɔn de ada no adi wɔ apam foforɔ no mu ama yɛn no. Nanso so mpɛn bi a mɛbɔ no anaa yɛbɛbɔ no anuanom deɛ ɔmo gyina na ɔmo gyina saa kwan korɔ no a ɔmpɛ sɛ ɔmo de sesa no a na ɔmo pɛ na yɛnyɛ pa no sibire biara.
But I want to read some few words to you, and I want you to think about it from the Constitution, page 5. This is something, not the Constitution, but a document that eldership wrote, and in that document, this is what they said under the this decision that brethren took about the church. They wrote these words. They said alternative conflict resolution.
Enti weye nhoma bi na opese okenkan firi mu na saa nhoma no eye nhoma a abra nchiwahyew soreye na mente me ho ase ye no anuanom tena ase kurukire nhoma no na omo bo omodin bia se ombesiesie ni oma na asomdua ba ewa asafo no mu na obi ate ne ho ase no omo twere obiribi nhoma omo twere ye no eti ana kratafa enum eti a ya twere so se brofokasem conflict resolution no ana nchiriwahyew ho asiesie no say no mo kan.
But in the Constitution it was written that though the church is divine, there are bound to be conflicts among members occasionally.
Omo twere say asɔre no efiri soro de nanso so etasi se anuanom ntem no mente me ho ase ene wonti watimi wakame esɔre.
And they continue, should this occur,
no mo to aso se saade we koso a
members must use the approved Christian principle as stated in scriptures.
Na se saade esi a ewo se anuanom enam Kristo kwan a waka a enam atresem no so no ana esiesi.
And brethren, they said they should use 1 Corinthians 6 verse 1 to 8.
Omo kan se Korintofo homa edi nkan ne trensia yi mu baako eba ne wotwe so no omo nyina so.
Matthew 18 verse 15 to 18.
Matthew homa no etredu wotwe yi mu dudum eba ne du wotwe so no.
And then they wrote that leaders stroke members are encouraged.
Na omo twere se empanyimfo ana anuanom a omo asafo mu no ye hye won kuran se
to use these principles in resolving all matters in their respective congregations.
Na omo mfa saa Bible gina so nyina ne edisua a omunya firi mu no ensiesie nsam a ebesisi ewo asafo a omo wo mu.
But in these must be the end of what should have been written in the Constitution.
We ana ka ose ke twa ano kra de ka ose tworo ko e Constitution mu no ka de twa ano kra mranim fo mu no twa ano kra.
Yet listen to some of the things that they added.
Nanso tie nsam a omo kan ya omo tintim semra a ewo Constitution mu a omo de ka ho.
It says where dispute become difficult to resolve,
Omo kan se enchiriwahyew no mu ya den pa se obetimi asiesie a
the following steps should be taken.
Anamon way ana ewo se yefa so.
Disputes shall be resolved by mediation or voluntary arbitration with assistance of board of trustees.
nti wahyew no ba na mu ɔden paa ɛwɔ sɛ wɔn a ɛka nsɛm abɔ mu anaa wɔn a esiesie nnua ntɛm no ɛwɔ sɛ yɛma kwan ɛma wɔn a aborɔfo kasam yɛfrɛ wɔn board of trustees ɛba mu na wɔn besiesie.
And this is what they said. They said parties in the conflict shall be bound by the decision or recommendation of the board of trustees.
Na wɔn kaa sɛ afanu mmienu a asɛm aba wɔn ntɛm no sɛ board of trustees no ɛtena ase na wɔn si gyinaeɛ anaa wɔn kyerɛ adwenkyerɛ bi a saa nnuanum afanu mmienu no yɛakyekyere wɔn anaa ɔhyɛseɛ ɔpɔ wɔn po.
And brethren, when you continue, the sad situation is that they said that where the local congregation acting contrary does not obey the commands of the board of trustees, the board of trustees, shall disfellowship them from the churches of Christ in Ghana and force them to change their name from Church of Christ.
Omo kan etoa so se omo kyerɛkyerɛ omo hyɛ omo na omo antia ɛne se obia omo ka na omo ntie saa board of trustees nsɛm a omo kan no omo bɛ bomodin biara se omo bɛ hyɛ wɔn na omo atete wɔn afiri Kristo na safo a ɛwɔ Ghana mpata mu omo atete omo afiri ho na omo abomodin ahyɛ wɔn ama omo asesa omo die.
Brethren, when you listen to these words, you might think that on the surface, oh, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Minyanom sɛ wotie asɛm yi din a ebia animonimu no bɛka sɛ o bibia ni wa mfunso bia ni ho.
Brethren, there is a lot against the Lord in this matter.
Nso minyanom saa asɛm yi a yɛkan ho no bibi nneɛma bebree ana ɛwɔ mu a akutia Nyankopɔn hyehyɛ.
And that is that when a congregation refuses to adhere to the teachings of Christ, no other congregation has the power to disfellowship that congregation. Not even Jesus himself.
Na sɛ asɔre bi ɛyɛ tintinti na ɔyɛ biribi na ɛkyea obiara ni ho tumi ana obiara ni wa wasase ɔwɔ ho tumi sɛ ɔtete wɔn efiri Kristo mu ɛka Yesu ho.
Even Jesus himself said that he will take away the lampstand from the congregation. He did not say, I will disfellowship that congregation.
Yesu no ampo ɛka sɛ obeyi wɔn kanea dua wanka sɛ obetu wɔn asen.
When he spoke of a church that is dead in Revelation chapter 3, the verse 1,
ɔkasa fa asɔre a na ɔmawuo ho no wadi sɛm ho maitire miɛnsa ne mu baako koro no.
And he said to the church at Sardis, right.
Na ɔka sɛ Sardi mu asɔre no mu bɔfoɔ no twerɛ kɔma no.
That these things says he who has the seven spirits of God and the seven stars. I know your works, that you have a name, that you are alive, but you are dead.
Ɔsɛ sɛ na deɛ wɔ Nyankopɔn ahohom nson ne nsoroma nson no seɛ minimu nnwuma sɛ wowɔ din sɛ wote ase nanso wawu.
All right, and listen to this. In the 4th verse, he said that you have a few names, even in Sardis, who have not defiled their garments.
Wɔn yi mu nan na ɔka sɛ nanso mewɔ edin kakraa bi wɔ wɔn a wɔn ntade ho fi wɔ Sardis.
And so when you say that you have the power to disfellowship an entire congregation, you are simply saying that whoever is in that congregation, you have no care for them, you have no mind to think about their safety, you will just throw them away from the Lord's church.
Sɛ woka sɛ utu saa asɔre no nyinaa sɛn a ɛne na wonni tema bi anaa ɔdwerɛ homa bi anaa adwendwen bi ɛma asɔre mu nipa mu biara efisɛ Yesu no mpo anyɛ ne saa.
Brethren, I can go on and on when it comes to church registration, and the point is that there is an issue, there is a problem with making a decision to rule over the entire churches of Christ in Ghana.
Me nyanu metuma to akoso aka afa sorry edi ntwotworo ho akoso adwene nyinaa kafua se nipa bi abon otirim se opese odi nsafosafo ni nyinaa so e Ghana.
Brethren, we want to become like the churches around us.
Me nyanu ye pese ye ne nsori a nipa tete atwa ye ho ahia ne ye pe.
I've heard a preacher man say that, have you ever seen any invitation from government inviting us to a government function?
Wate afiri osapakani enum sapakani bi enum a o kase wahun bre kra abamu krata bi aba eto nsafre yen se yenko abamu medi dwuma bie.
They mentioned that some of these charismatic churches just came up, yet they get invitation and we don't.
Omo ka kire me se nsori ani party a ebi sha ase ncheye abofo kasem charismatic churches yi sorry ya omo ebi sha ase ncheye kura no omo nya krata akodi dwuma wa abamu.
In the congregation I preached for, an elder told me that whether you like it or not, we would do it. And if we do it and you don't like it, you can leave.
Baby na me sorry na me sum nyame e wo mu no opanyini asafo panyini na wo mbaako bi ka kire me pen se ye beye mumpo ye beye na ye na mumpa mumfiri munko.
And brethren, the sad thing is that these elders are the vulnerable ones in this situation.
Na rehosem ni se asafo panyimfo yi ene de omo emere pa wa asem no ho.
Because they are the ones that the Bible has given them exousia, the authority to rule in the church.
We sanfo yi ana Bible atresem no ama won Hebrew hela kasem exousia ana tumidie se wonni ewo asafo a ewo won patamu.
And so to allow a board of trustees or any kind of a hierarchy above you, the eldership, is a coup against your eldership.
Na se obema kwan ama bofokasem board of trustees bi a etra asafo won patamu na mo hwe nsafo nyina so a ene na wakwatia tumidie a Yakobon de ama wo o asafo won patamu mu.
Man, this is what I want to offer as a solution.
Minianom we ni me pamu sebre ana me solution a me pese me de ma.
We can still register the churches of Christ in Ghana as one group of people without having this kind of constitution that give power to individuals to rule over the church.
Ye betimi akotwere ndin wa ban mu se nipakuo baako ewa bra yemma kwan emma ehuma tintim a bofkasem ye fe no constitution bi a onipa bi atwere pese wode hye nyina yeso no yemma kwan masade ne mmerem.
We can still have a document called constitution that will be given that will not infringe on the right and the authority of a local congregation in the lost church.
Ye betimi mpo atintim nhuma a ebema kwan na yetimi akotwere yendin enso enhye obiara fa ahudi a owo wo Kristo mu wo asori biara wo empatamu biara mu no enhye ne so.
And the alternative is to allow every local congregation that can do it to go and do their own church registration.
Na ne ya no ne se yebema kwan ma asori biara owo ho ahoden se obekọ akoye na watwere won din wa abamu no yema ne kwan na nkotwere ne din.
And this is the sad situation about it.
Na rehu sem e wo hu ni.
And I know that, Jonathan, you are aware of what I'm saying.
Ura meninza ura Jonathan unim dia mekan ni hu yie pa.
That some brethren went to the Registrar General's office and told them to bind or to stop any Church of Christ congregation that tried to do their own church registration.
Na sama all can say nyanum bi wiawia won ho ekọ ba bi o twotworo din ni ho ekọ share say so obi aba so obetwo ni din a momma kwan munsi won kwan na wantwere won din.
And the question is, if you don't have any diabolical means of banding all the churches together and sitting on top and ruling over them, then why would you have a problem if a local congregation want to go and do their own registration?
Sɛ wonni adwenbɔne bi a ɛtɛkyerɛ sɛ wopɛ sɛ woboaboa asɔre no nyinaa no na wotena wɔn so na wodi wɔn nyinaa so a adɛn ana asɔre biara a ɛwɔ mpatamu biara a ɔwɔ ne mpaninnie pɛ sɛ ɔkɔtwerɛ wɔn din a womma kwan.
What do you lose?
Deɛ na wohwere.
Brethren, this is a growing concern.
Me nuanom wei ɛyɛ ade a ɛhwehwe aso na ɛwɔ sɛ yɛhwɛ mu yie.
And like I said, I know I've spent a lot of time on this, but the point is that it has divided and destroyed our church more than any other canker ever that any human can think of.
Na menim sɛ magye berɛ akasa afa wei ho yie paa nanso so metwe wadwe agyina so sɛ ɛno aha asɔre no yie kyɛn biribiara a na borɔfo kasɛm no ɔsɛ ɛyɛ growing canker. Ade a ɛdi yɛnya paa kɛse ɛwɔ asɔre no mu.
Let me move on to the growing concern number 4.
Ma menkɔ growing concern adeɛma bi ɛhwehwɛ aso a ɛtɔ so 9 so.
And that is the bossy nature of eldership.
Na deɛ wei yɛ asɔre mpanyimfo a ɔmo ababa wɔ ɔbɛtiri soɔ a ɔmo di abakomasɛm ɛwɔ asɔre no mu.
There are some eldership that see themselves as board of directors and they are in charge to fire and on fire, accept and throw away anybody they wish in the church.
Yɛwɔ asɔre mpanyimfo bi a ɔmo ma ɔbɛtiri so na adwene akɔyɛ te sɛ ɔmo ana ɔyɛ ɔga na deɛ ɔmo yɛ nyinaa ne sɛ ɔmo deɛ ɔmo tu na ɔmo apamo obiara a ɔpɛ ɛwɔ asɔre no mu ɛwɔ abere obiara ɛmɔ ɔbɛtiri so.
This has called for a resistance from some preachers, some youth groupings, some deacons, and even church members.
Wei ama nkɔfoɔ bi asɔre atia nkɔfoɔ bi te sɛ mmaburukuo bi anaasɛ asɔre mu asomfoɔ bi anaa mpo mmaa bi anaasɛ pakafoɔ bi ɛsɔre tia saa nhyehyɛ yi.
And brethren, they fight to the extent of destroying the sanctity of the Lord's peaceful church, even to the public domain.
Me nuanom ɔmo yɛ ko saa deɛ yi nwa kɔpem sɛ asomdue a yɛnya ɛwɔ Kristo mu a ka yɛn ho atɔ yɛn no ɔmo ko tia no.
These elders see themselves as the employers.
Saa asɔre mpanyimfo yi no ɔmo hu ɔmo sɛ adwumawura nom.
Of course, they were the ones who were instrumental in employing perhaps the preacher into the congregation.
Nokorɛ wɔn ana ɛfa ɔsapakani na wɔn de adwumaso hyɛ ne nsa ɛwɔ asɔre no mu a ɛwɔ mpatamu hɔ.
It is true, they are the ones that the Lord has given the work of episcopacy in their hands.
Ɛyɛ nokorɛ wɔn ana Awurade ɛde adwumaso a hela kasa mu ɔfɛ no episcopacy ɛde ahyɛ wɔn nsa.
They have the right to oversee the congregation and to manage all its affairs.
Ɔmo na ɔmo wɔ kwan ana ɛwɔ ho kwan sɛ ɔmo hwɛ asɔre no soɔ na ɔmo toto asɔre no dwumadie nyinaa.
So yes, they employ the preacher into the congregation.
Enti nokorɛ ɔmo na fa ɔsapakani no ɛwɔ asɔre no mu.
And they have every right to fire him at any point in time if they don't need him.
Na ɔmo wɔ ho kwan sɛ ebere biara a ɔmo hia ne dwumadie ana ne som ana ne dwumadie a wodie wɔ asɔre no mu no ɔmo gya ne kwan borɔfo kasɛm no deɛ ɔno frɛ no fire.
But brethren, the point is that whatever that they do, they need to do it in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Ba me nuanom deɛ metwe adwene esi so nie biribiara a ɔmo yɛ ɛno ɔwɔ sɛ ɔmo yɛ no Awurade din mu.
In 1 Peter chapter 5, the verse 2,
Wɔ Peter homa edi nkan etire num no
Peter wrote that shepherd the flock of God which is among you, serving as overseers, not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly.
Peter ɛtwerɛ sɛ monyɛ ne Awurade nyanku a ɔwɔ mo mu no, monhwɛ wɔn so, ɛnyɛ ɔhyɛ so, na mmom ɔdɔ mu, sɛdeɛ Onyankopɔn pɛ, ɛnyɛ adufurupɛ nti, na mmom akoma a ɛyɛ pɛ nti.
They are not to lord over the church members.
Ɛnyɛ sɛ ɔmo di asɔre no so abakomasɛm.
Yes, they have authority to employ and to fire the preacher.
Ɔmo wɔ ho kwan sɛ ɔmo fa obi adwuma, ɔsɛpakani bi adwuma ma ɔbɛyɛ adwuma wɔ asɔre no mu, ana ɔmo wɔ ho kwan sɛ ɔmo gya ɔsɛpakani bi kwan na ɔde n'adwuma bɛyɛ wieɛ wɔ asɔre no mu.
But brethren, all these things need to be done as people who are the Lord's church.
Nanso me nuanom, saa deɛ nyinaa no ɛwɔ sɛ yɛyɛ no sɛ nkurɔfo a ɔwɔ Kristo n'asafo mu a.
But it saddens my heart that sometimes the people who are called sheep, who are called flock of God, act as though they are lions.
Nanso ɛmɛ ya makoma mu sɛ nkurɔfo a Nyankopɔn asɛm frɛ wɔn sɛ ɔyɛ nnwan, ɔyɛ nkurɔfo a Nyankopɔn afrɛ wɔn aba sɛ akoa anaa nkoa wɔ asafo mu no, wohu wɔn ho na ɔda wɔn ho adi sɛ gyata.
In this week, we have heard that even though the elders are the shepherds, they are sheep first.
Saa na wɔtwe mu yate na yɛsua sɛ Bible no ka sɛ asafo no mpanyimfoɔ no ɔmo na yɛ ahwɛfoɔ deɛ, nanso ɔmo yɛ nnwan kane.
Brethren, I want to say in Matthew 20, the verse 24 to 28, Jesus addressing the concerns of the 10 disciples who had issues with James and John, he told them these.
Ɛnwano pɛ sɛ mo kan ne yɛhyɛ ne nso wɔ Matthew nhoma no etire 24 na yi mu 28, Matthew 24 verse 28 no.
Matthew 20 verse 24 to 28.
Matthew nhoma no etire 20 na yi mu 24 ne ba na 28. Abra Yesu Kristo ɛkasa fa asomafoɔ no wɔn mu ana ɔwɔ nkyiriwahyew bi ɛwɔ nyanimu nsɛm ho no.
The problem is that the disciples are fighting over who will have more authority in the kingdom of Christ.
Ɛhaw a dɛ wɔn ho ne sɛ asuafoɔ no mu na ɔmo ko ɛwɔ hwan ana wɔn ho kwan sɛ wonya tumi kɛse ɛkyɛn afoforɔ ɛwɔ Nyankopɔn ahenni mu.
And brethren, this is what Jesus told them in the verse 25.
Na yei na Yesu Kristo ka kyerɛ wɔn ɛwɔ yimu 25 no.
He said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who are great exercise authority over them.
Ɔsɛ munim sɛ ewiase amanaman ahemfo di wɔn so sɛ wuranom, na wɔn mu akɛsefoɔ no di so wɔn so tumi.
And so Jesus' point is that these Gentiles know of the authority they have, they know of the exousia that they have received, and therefore they use it to lord over the rest, serving as big men over the rest.
Yesu asɛm ɛne sɛ amanamanfoɔ yi no ɔmo nim tumi a Awurade de ama wɔn, na nam sɛ ɔmo tumi a na ɔmo te sɛ nti no ɔmo nya ho kwan ɛhyɛ edi wuranom yɛ ɛwɔ nkurɔfoɔ a ɔmo hyɛ wɔn so.
Verse 26 says, yet it shall not be so among you.
Nanso yi mu 26 no ka sɛ na ɛnte saa ɛwɔ mo mu.
He said, but whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant.
Na deɛ ɔpɛ sɛ ɔyɛ mo mu kɛseɛ no ɔnyɛ mo mu somfoɔ.
So the elders watching me or who watch this later, I want to find out, are you serving as servants or as lords over the church?
Na mpanimfo asafo a mohwɛ me na mobɛhwɛ me akyire yi no, mo som sɛ awuranom anaasɛ asomfoɔ ɛwɔ asɔre no mu.
Time will not permit me to talk about John chapter 13 when Jesus washed the feet of the apostles.
Ɛbrɛ mma me kwan na menkasa mfa Yesu Kristo a ɔhohoro asuafo no n'ase ɛwɔ Yohane nhoma no mu ti du miɛnsa no.
But I want to say two things about that passage.
Nanso mbɛsɛ metwe wadwen gyina nneɛma mmienu so ɛfa saa Bible gyinasoɔ no.
The verse 3 says that when Jesus has realized that all things were put under him, he stood up and took a basin and poured water in it and washed the feet of the apostles.
Nyimu no ban te aseɛ sɛ abere a Yesu Kristo ehunu sɛ ɔde tumi nyinaa hyɛ ne nsa no, ɔsɔre ɛfa ne bokiti na ohwie nsuo gu mu ɛde towel ɛbɔ no mu a ɔhyɛ aseɛ sɛ ɔhohoro asuafo no n'ase.
And it kind of struck me to ask myself, why does the Bible say that after he realized that all authority has been given to him, he stood up and washed the feet of these apostles?
Na deɛ hwehwɛ ma so paa baako ɛne sɛ Bible ɛka yɛ sɛ abere a Yesu Kristo hunu sɛ ɔde ɔtoro tumi nyinaa ama no saa bere no ana Yesu Kristo sɔre a ohwie nsuo gu bokiti mu a ɔhohoro asomafo no n'ase.
Brethren, the point is that when you realize that you have authority, you have oversight responsibility in the church, that should make you more humble to serve rather than become bossy.
Na anuanom deɛ mmahunu enie sɛ wobɛgyinagyina pɛn a wohunu yie sɛ woanya tumi wɔ asɔre mu a ɛno ɛboa wo ɛma wobrɛ wo ho ase koraa ba fam ɛbɛsom anuanom.
Jesus told them that if you call me a teacher, and I am, if you call me a master, and I am, and I am teaching you, that you also go and humble yourself and serve.
Yesu ka kyerɛ n'asomafoɔ no sɛ mofrɛ me wura na meyɛ na wofrɛ mo kyerɛkyerɛfoɔ na meyɛ nso ampa a ɛne na mekyerɛ mo sɛ mo nso monkɔyɛ saa ɛma afoforo.
Growing concern number 5.
Deɛ ɛtɔ so nnum a mbɛsɛ metwe adwegyina so.
One man church canker.
Brɔfo kasɛm one man church canker wode ba twi mu a ɔkɔntɔn koro a ɔda asɔre n'ano a ɔno na ɛyɛ biribiara ɛwɔ asɔre no mu.
Brethren, when you look at the one-man churches around us, the denominations, they have one person that the whole church is centered around, that sometimes they have billboards that this man and his family or his wife are being posted on such billboards.
Anuanom, sɛ muhunu na yɛte yɛhunu wɔ yɛn mpata mu ne yɛn kurom nsɔre maako a nsɔre ahodoɔ a nipa baako bi atete a wobɛkɔ no nsɔre no nyinaa hwɛ no biribiara si ne so biribiara kɔ ɛbɛkra no mpo wɔ nsɔre no wɔn billboard so anaa deɛ ɛdi nkra ɛto nkra frɛ nkurɔfoɔ no saa nipa yi ne mfonyini ne yere mfonyini ne mma mfonyini ɛne n'abusua mfonyini ana mpo ɛyɛ a na ɛtaataa soɔ na ɛbɔ ɔno ho dawuro.
Brethren, our churches are getting to this canker.
Minyanom yɛn nsafo ahodoɔ yi so ebi ɛkɔ saa tebea no.
Some preachers are too big in the congregation, said that he himself will not allow for eldership to be ordained, and he himself see himself as someone who is bigger than everybody else because he is the preacher.
Asabakafoɔ bi hu wɔn ho sɛ wɔsoboro soa ma sɛ ɔmma kwan ɛma wɔnsi mpanyini ɛwɔ asafo no mu na ɔmma kwan ɛma obi ɛndi dwumadie bi ɛmo deɛ ɔno ɔnuhu ne ho sɛ ɔno ara ne ɔkɛseɛ no adentia ɔyɛ sapakani.
And such preachers see themselves as so entitled that the fact that they started a congregation make it a fact that they should stay in that congregation and that congregation belongs to them.
Saa asapakafoɔ yi ebere bi wɔ hɔ a ohu wɔn ho sɛ wɔn mo na asɔre no yɛ wɔn dea wɔn na hyɛ asɔre no aseɛ wɔn na tete asɔre no wɔn na ɔhyɛ dwumadie bɛka nyamesɛm wɔ kuro no mu ɛpa nkurɔfoɔ ma ɔba asafo no mu ɛne nti asɔre no yɛ wɔn dea na wɔn pɛ sɛ ɔbɛfiri mu mpo.
Brethren, these words are the words that flashes through my mind anytime I think about the fact that I am a preacher.
Minyanom, wei ne nsɛm a etwa m'adwene mu na mpo ɛba m'adwene mu ɛbere biara a m'adwene ho sɛ meyɛ ɔsɛmpakani.
When Paul wrote, "Oh Timoteo,"
abere a Paul twerɛeɛ sɛ "Oh Timoteo,"
fulfilled your ministry.
Paul kaye say ye wie wo som krakra.
He said these words in the verse 20 of 1 Timothy chapter 6. He said, "Oh, Timothy, guide what was committed to your trust."
Okay. Oh, Timothy huma no edin kai tensia ni mu aduonu no say, "Oh, Timothy, hwɛ de me de ahye wo nsa no so."
Brethren, we have been given a work to do.
Minyanom, wama ya adwuma se yenye.
We are just people holding in trust the work of ministry.
Ye nkofo a ode asem no ho som ahye yensa.
And not to be a one-man show or a one-man showmanship in that congregation.
Na nye se oye obi a waya okontonkro a oda ho adi obo ho safohene e wa so no mu.
Growing concern number 6.
Ye to so nsia na me pese me boso.
And going forward, I'm just going to rush through them and allow you to ask me questions.
De ekomanim no metumrika na mabobbo so taw na mama kwan ama won nsam gusa na mayi ano.
Our Bible college is becoming ceremonial.
Ye Bible at the bia no bebre na no beye bia ya odi ceremonial brofokasem.
They come, they spend years there, they go back calling themselves preachers, yet in a way empty and have no idea the work that they are putting themselves in.
Asempakafo bi ana nkofo kwaje ntetiye na ntetiye ni mu otena ho mfie bebre obefiri ho no na oya yehu na ne hunu a woya ye ene se ahwi ni etiri ni mu efiri se obekọ aba ahwi ni mu.
We are not thinking about what the Lord wants us to do and the ministry that has been entrusted unto us. And these people grow and walk about thinking that they have completed a Bible college and therefore they are above everybody in the congregation.
Yennyene adwumaso a Nyankopon de ahye nsa ho. Na saafo wie Bible college na owie a wadwen nam onam krom eka kire nkrofo na adwen ye se wie Bible college inti ne santi oburu obiara so.
But the sad thing is that we are having so many Bible colleges around, yet we don't have enough students to admit into these Bible colleges.
Many anomaro husem ni say ye wo Bible ntete bia bebre a bu ye krom ene ye mountain so nanso so omunya nkrofo mpo ana omo betena omo akosuku no na wonya ntete.
And nothing comes in mind that these Bible colleges should come together and form one Bible college to be able to have enough students and enough faculty members.
Na bibiara ma dwene mu se sa Bible ntete bia yi enam se omugina Bible kro no aso ana edi dwuma no omumra mekambom na omunya asukufo bebre a ometima tena won nase won ntete bia ho na omenya nkofo a omo ho akokwa e wonyamesem mu a brofkasem ye form faculty members na ometima tete saafo yi.
So because everybody is looking for students, they are admitting people who seems to me not to have anything to do in life, and therefore they decide to just take a preachership ministry.
Enje nam se wo mu nyina hwehwe nipa na waba won sukuu ni binti no mpempi no nkofo bebre a ye fa won na ye de won kọ asampakafo ntete bia no bebre na no ayete se ekamya ye se wona dwene mu no susu se osremeka saafo no ase woni biribiara ye ewo abraboy mu ana abraboy mu no eya akwatia no eni nti se ya akwatia no dia ene ma memfa asampakafo ho na me so nkonya ntete.
And brethren, that is leading to a lot of concerns that we have in our congregations.
Ninyanom sa niema we nyina kafua eboa ema ehaw ne amane a eba yenso no eba.
Brethren, this idea of having trained men and sending them as preachers is right, even from the Old Testament time.
Ninyanom se yenya ntetea bia na etete mmama na yasoma won ama wode asem no kro eno eyade a eye na enokre impo efiri apamda dam ekro nyina.
If anybody tells you that the Bible college is not biblical, he doesn't perhaps look at certain things in scripture to see it that it is biblical.
Se obi eka kire o se Nyankopon se yenya ntetea bia yebetete asepakafo no enyina Nyankopon asem so a ene za nipa no na onyanhwe ni yie onyanhwe ne Bible mu yie se obetimanya ho ntiase.
In 2 Kings chapter 2, the verse 1 to 3, there was a school of prophet. We had preaching school in the Old Testament.
Wo ahemfo homa no mu a etoso mienu no na ye wo atetea bia yetete adifo ewo apamda dam mu ye wo adifo school ewo apamda dam mu.
When you read of school, the sons of prophet, it was talking about students of the prophet.
The okenkan adifo no ma na okasa efa adifo no wo mo ehye wanse a wotete won.
In the same way you see in 1 Timothy, Paul calling Timothy as his son because he trained him as a preacher.
Sa kwa kro no aso ana ehunu se Paul efre Timothy se ne ba wo gidie ni mu ebise ona tete Timothy.
They may not have had buildings and classrooms for people to go in and sit and sleep in dormitories or halls, but their movement and their training were just the same as what Paul and Timothy did and what we do in our Bible colleges.
Wo ye hunu se na omuni edan ahodo bi ana mfidie adwuma bi ana biaye a enwanom betena bofokase me fe ne dormitory a ombetena na omunya ntete se na bia ye nei ye wo ewo ye mpatamu nanso so se ne na Timothy mu ne Paul mu di omudwuma se omotete nkrofo no sa nso na sa Bible college se wo honde no omonso tete nkrofo.
So another growing concern is this full-time minister ideology.
Na ade ba ko a eno nso ka ho ene se osapakani a onye adwuma biara nka ho eno nso so adwene enso ya ade a hwehwema.
And so churches will write that they are looking for preacher who will be a full-time minister.
Nti aso no hwehwe asapakani a omotwero ele tuma ele bonwo dawuro se omohwehwe obi a onye adwuma biara na emom asapakano ko an omoye.
And sadly, they don't have the capacity to care for a full-time man.
Nanso so ubekomu no omuni eho ahoden eho akade a obetimi di ahwe obi a onye adwuma biara eka sempaka nko aho.
What stopped the church from having a preacher who does his work and still be able to preach for the congregation?
Dia na si aso no kwan ewa bra omowo sempakani a oye adwuma na osanso so eye osom anasepaka no so adwuma.
What stops someone from being a nurse or a teacher or an accountant or any profession in addition to preaching?
Dia na si obi a oye nurse se ne okaye no ana ochecheni se ne okaye no ana engineer se ne okaye no ana wasaso so e preachi eka sa adwuma a woye hu.
Yet we qualify it a full-time minister and forces him to stop whatever he's doing and just come there and preach.
Nanso so yes cheni pasa say okay munya de muye nyina na momra e me preachi ana mo beka nyamesem e wa so no mu e wa bra munya adwuma biara nka ho.
And sadly, these churches, brethren, don't have anything going on for the preacher to come and do full-time.
Nanso so ubekomu no sansafo yi omuni biara omo siesia to ho a omo ye a ebetimi aboa na akora obura no a ode ne bre nyina na dade nyina yese ode ye asepaka adwuma yi.
And the Bible colleges should train men who will be able to go out there, do their own jobs, and still be able to preach for the congregations.
I say Bible atete bia no nso so timi tete nkrofo a obetimi aye adwuma ode won sa be ye adwuma foforo aka asepaka no ho na watimi asaso a preachi ana waka asempaka no aka ma nsafo no.
Going concern number I lost count.
Or say growing con ana dioma ba kwa hwehwe na so but enkonta no abua for nani so.
Is joint service.
Asɔre nsɔre a wɔn mpatamu a ɔmo gyae ɔmo hyia mu bea hɔ na ɔmo nyinaa bɛka bom na ɔmo nyinaa som ɛwɔ beaeɛ foforɔ ɛka ɔmo hyia mu bea ase.
Is it wrong to go and join another congregation and worship?
Mfomso wɔ mu sɛ wo ne asɔre bi a ɛwɔ mpatamu foforɔ ɛkɔka bom na mo asɔre Awurade anaa?
No, there's no Bible to prove that.
Bibie ni twerɛ nsɛm a ɛkyerɛ sɛ saa de ne yɛ mfomsoɔ.
However, there are potential dangers and apostasy that comes with it.
Nanso so metwi wadwe gyina so sɛ ɔwɔyɛ kakra ɛtaa bewura saa ɛfa saa kwan no so ba ɛne ɛhaw kakra ɛtaa fa kwan no so ɛba.
Because the idea behind the reason why they want to join together is to raise money, is to have one collection and to do things and so that they may build certain things that they want to do.
Na adwene ɛtɛkyire a ɛma ɔmo yɛ saa no mpɛ bebree no ɛne sɛ ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo bɔ futuo bi, ɔmo pɛ sɛ ɔmo di dwumaso bi ana ɔmo yɛ adeɛ bi nti ɔmo nyinaa ka boa ɛne ɔhoɔden no timi ba.
And brethren, they do this which go against the scriptures.
Ɛsɛ me nuanom ɔmo taa yɛ wei nanso ɛkutia nyamesɛm.
Another growing concern is change of pulpit. I know you may have heard about that.
Adeɛ baako nso a ɛtwema so na mbɛsɛ metwe wadwene gyina so ɛne sɛ asapakafoɔ a ɔmo ɛsesa baabi a ɔmo ka nyamesɛm nti borɔfo kasɛm no they change pulpit no yɛ beaeɛ a ɔmo gyina ka nyamesɛm nti asapaka ne bi firi asɔre wei mu na ɔkɔ asɔre wei mu na ɔfoforɔ nso firi wei mu aba wei mu kwasi ada bi na naawɔtwe na ɔmo asa asesa na naawɔtwe na ɔmo asa asesa na naawɔtwe na ɔmo asa asesa wei aho asɛm ana wɔka.
Now, brethren, we have no biblical authority to do that in the churches. And the question is, who has the right to regulate such things?
Minyanom yɛni tumi ɛwɔ twerɛnsɛm a ɛka saa nneɛma wei. Na asɛmbusa ne sɛ hwan ana ɛwɔ tumi sɛ ɔkyerɛ hwan na ɛnkɔ ha na hwan na ɛnkɔ ha ɛbrɛ wei na hwan na ɛnkɔ ha ɛbrɛ wei.
This is not biblical.
Saa deɛ wei ɛnyɛ Nyankopɔn asɛm.
People are doing this on their own authority.
Nipa pii na ɛyɛ saa deɛ wei ɔmo atumi ho.
Growing concern, the next is shifting focus to building social interventions.
Adeɛ baako nso a abɛgye yɛn tirimu na aha yɛn kakra ne sɛ yɛatwe adwene ɛde akɔgyina borɔfo kasɛm deɛ yɛfɛ ne social interventions. Kyɛ sɛ nneɛma bi a ɛboa okuro ana ɛboa nipa asetena mu wɔ wiase.
And so we've seen the Methodist Church, the Pentecostal Church, the Charismatic churches setting up schools, building hospitals, and so we want to be like them.
Yehunu na yɛte sɛ Methodist asɔre ɛtete nsa ebiabie sukuu sɛm ɛne hospital sɛm Presby ɛyɛ saa Catholic so yɛ saa na yehunu a ne yɛpɛ sɛ yɛyɛ te sɛ wɔn.
Brethren, we are not like them.
Minyanom yɛnyɛ wɔn.
Our focus is to win souls.
Yɛbotaeɛ yɛ korɔ sɛ yɛbɛtwe akra.
We are not looking for any kind of reward or some kind of recognition from the society or the government.
Yɛmpɛ abodinbɔ anaa abasobɔ bi afiri aban anaa yɛmpata mu hɔ.
And sadly, we have preachers, we have church leaders who collect money and take huge monies to donate to government and other people or other projects, where we have churches of Christ suffering to even raise a tent and worship under it.
Yɛwɔ asapakafoɔ anaa mpanyimfoɔ anaa nkɔfoɔ pii a ɛwɔ yɛn mu a ɔmani bere na ɔmutumi bɔ fotoɔ so ɛde boa aban atae aban akyire ɛtae ɛdi dwuma bi ɛwɔ wɔn mpatamu ɛwɔ abrɛ korɔ no a Kristo n'asafo a ɛwɔ mpatamu bi ɛho kyere wɔn sɛ mpo ɔbɛbɔ seseɛ na wasom ɛwɔ aseɛ.
We take millions and thousands of Ghana cedis to donate to government which does not give any proper accountability, to the expense of a local struggling congregation that we are aware of. Yet we say that we are having the truth.
Minyanum, yɛgyegye sika yɛbɔ fotoɔ kɛseɛ ɛde kɔboa ban aban a ɔmu nkontaa papa biara na daa ne daa nyinaa dwiriwudie ɛne katahyehyɛ ne porɔyɛ adokoro wɔn mu saa afoɔ no ne yɛgyegye toɔ afuru asafo naa mu ɛde kɔtaa wɔ akyie nanso so saa abere koro no mu no na yɛwɔ kristo nsafo ahodoɔ bi a wɔn ho kyere wɔn na wɔnni baabi mpa a wɔde wɔn tie ɛbɛtoɔ.
Is it wrong to go and support a government project?
Mfomsoɔ wɔ mu sɛ obi ɛboa aban adeɛ.
No.
No, there be.
But what does Galatians 6 tell us?
Galatifoɔ homaitire nsia no deɛ na ɛka.
It says that we should be good to all people, most especially those in a household of faith.
Ɔse moma yɛnyɛ nipa nyinaa yie ne titiriw ɛne gyidie ne fiefoɔ.
And so what happened to the household of faith?
Deɛ na ɛsie ɛwɔ gyidie ne fiefoɔ ho.
That we have neglected them and rather looking at what we can do for government and for the society. We are being concerned with them.
Yɛbu yɛni agu gyidie ne fiefoɔ soɔ na wɔn ho kyere wɔn na yɛni abere sɛ yɛbɛtumi abɔ fotoɔ bi ɛde atan aban akyire anaa yɛbɛtumi abɔ fotoɔ bi ɛde aboa yɛn mpatamu dwumadi a ɛkɔ soɔ na yɛgyae Nyankopɔn asafo anuanom hɔ.
Very growing concern again is the encouragement or we encouraging entertainment in the church rather than the Lord's business of saving souls.
Adeɛ baako nso a ɛhwehwɛ ma so na mepɛ sɛ metwe adwe gyina soɔ ɛne sɛ yɛni agye sɛ yɛgye yɛnie ɛwɔ asɔ no mu yɛni gye anigyedeɛ kyɛn sɛ yɛdwene Nyankopɔn asɛm ho.
Have you realized that recently there have been a lot of singing groups, having various kind of programs at the various auditoriums and inviting people to come and listen to them, and they are so concerned about that without thinking about a single time organizing evangelism.
Wahunu sɛ ekuokuo ahodoɔ bebree na asɔre wɔ yɛn ntam a mpɛn bebree no dania ɔmo boaboa dɔm ano ɛkɔ beaeɛ ahodoɔ a ɛwɔ yɛn mpatamu na ohyia hɔ to dwom na ɔgye w'anie oyi ayɛyie nnwom saa nanso so yɛnyɛ ɛma atirimu da na ɛma ɔmɔden bia da sɛ yɛbɛboaboa dɔm ano saa ɛde aka Nyamesɛm.
Brother, is it wrong to meet somewhere and to sing, or a group to organize and record songs? No.
Minyanom mfomsoɔ wɔ ho sɛ yɛhyia na yɛto dwom mfomsoɔ wɔ ho sɛ yɛhyia to ayɛyie nnwom anaa yɛkurukyire nnwom egu afidie soɔ.
Remember what we say, that all work and no play make Jack a dull boy.
Minyanom yɛtae ka na ne yɛkɔ sukuu no ne yɛka kyerɛ sɛ yɛsua deɛ da biara ne yɛnni agorɔ a ɛma yɛyɛ ti bɔnkɔ so.
But Brenda, I want to tell you that all play and no work makes the church a dead one.
Na mbese metwe wadwen gyina so sɛ yɛdi agorɔ da biara deɛ a ɛne asɔ no bɛwu.
The church will not grow if we are so in tune with drama and singing and dancing and not caring about what the Lord's church needs to be doing.
Sɛ asɔre no ɛdi ni gye sɛ yɛdeɛ ɛnwomtoɔ a yɛhyia mu yɛtotototoɔ anaasɛ yɛyi mfonyini ɛkyerɛ ɛno ho ne yɛni abere anaasɛ yɛsa ne yɛhim ɛno ho ne yɛni abere a abere a Nyankopɔn adwuma gu hɔ a ɛne asɔre no bɛwu.
Our youth will, of course, be skilled toward entertainment and these singing groups and all that, at the detriment of church organizational visitation, church, evangelism and benevolent activities.
Yɛmmabunu no ɛbɛtwe wɔn ho ampa akɔ saa beaeɛ no a yɛgyegye yɛni ɛnyɛ gyidie no ho mmom kyene sɛ yɛbɛtena nsrahwɛ mu anaasɛ asafo nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛbɛboa ma asɔre no anyi no ɔmɛyi wɔn afiri ho na ɔde wɔn ani akyerɛ anigyedeɛ.
Brethren, I have a lot to talk about, but this is where I want to end.
Me nuanom, mewɔ nsɛm pii meka, nanso ha na mepɛ sɛ mebɔ sie.
This is a final growing concern I want to talk about.
Wei ni deɛ atwa to a mepɛ sɛ mebɔ soɔ.
Binding where it has not been bound.
Yɛkyekyere baabi a Nyankopɔn nkyekyereyɛ.
And losing where it has not been loosed.
Na yɛsane beaeɛ a Nyankopɔn nsaneyɛ.
This is where preachers and church leaders start making laws in the lost church where the Lord has not given us the right to make such laws.
Wei ni bea a asapakafoɔ ne mpanyimfoɔ ɛhyehyɛ mmara bi ma asɔre mu a Nyankopɔn no ankasa nkurukyereyɛ.
And they make these laws binding and trying to work around it to make it so scary as if the Lord said them in his words.
Na ɔkyerɛkyerɛ na ɔhwɛ sɛ saa mmara no bɛdi dwuma wɔ asɔre no mu te sɛ Nyankopɔn no ankasa ana ahyehyɛ wɔ abrɛ nso a Nyankopɔn hyehyɛ biribiara.
For example, they are able to say that it is sinful to wear trousers.
Ɔma mfa to ho sɛ onipa tumi ka sɛ ɛyɛ mfomsoɔ sɛ onipa ɛhyɛ borɔfo kasam deɛ ɛfɛ ne trouser no.
Brennan, I am not somebody who will advocate for members of the church to start doing that.
Me obi a menhyɛ nkurane sɛ Nyankopɔn nsafo mmaa no nyɛ saa.
Like they dress immodestly and wear tight dresses and reveal themselves out.
Sɛ yɛhyɛ ntade a ɛbɛkyekyere boo na yɛde ntade a nidie nnimuo anaa ntade a fɛreɛ nnimuo anaa ntade a ɛmfata ɛnam mmɔnten so.
I don't condone that.
Memfoa so.
However, I'm not going to stand here and say that when you wear trousers, it's a sin.
Nanso so me nyina ha enka sɛ obi hyɛ trouser a ɛyɛ bɔne.
Because this is the point.
If
If you say that wearing of trousers is a sin,
if you say woka sɛ obi hyɛ trouser a wayɛ bɔne a,
then it doesn't matter where the person wears it, whether indoor or on his bed or in the bathroom, it will still be a sin.
ɛmfa ho ne beaeɛ a onipa ne hyɛ saa adeɛ no sɛ ɔhyɛ ɛwɔ ne piem anaa wɔhyɛ ɛwɔ adwaeɛ anaa wɔhyɛ wɔ ne dam anaa wɔhyɛ pie no ɛyɛ bɔne.
Brethren, we need to tell members what the Lord wants us to tell them.
Ɛwɔ sɛ yɛka kyerɛ anuanom deɛ Awurade pɛ sɛ yɛka kyerɛ wɔn.
In Jesus' words, he says that whatever is bound in heaven will be bound on earth.
Yesu kan sɛ deɛ wakyekyere no soro no na wakyekyere no asase so.
Paul wrote that do not go beyond that which is written in 1 Corinthians 4.
Wɔ Korintofoɔ edi nkan tie 9 no Paul kan sɛ monnwene ntra deɛ watwerɛ.
In 2 Thessalonians 2:15, he said that therefore you should hold fast to the tradition which you heard from me, whether by my epistle or by my word.
Sɛ wotwerɛ wokan Tesalonikafoɔ nhoma no a ɔka sɛ atesɛm a munyaa no wɔ nkyɛn a ɛnam asɛm anaa krataa mu no ɛni kwan sɛ mokwati.
Brethren, I want to end by saying that in 1 Peter chapter 4, the verse 11,
Mepɛ sɛ mehyia mebiri m'asɛm nyinaa ba awieyɛ ɛwɔ abere a meka sɛ wɔ Peter nhoma edi nkan etire 9 ne yi mu du baako no.
it says that if anyone speak,
Ɔka sɛ obi ka asɛm a
let him speak as the oracle of God.
ma no nka no sɛ Nyame nsɛm.
And if anyone ministers,
Sɛ obi som a
let him do it from the strength with which the Lord provides.
Manon som sa ahoɔden a ɛfiri Nyankopɔn de ma.
that we may glorify our Lord through Jesus Christ.
Na yɛnam Awurade Yesu Kristo so ahyɛ Nyankopɔn animuonyam.
There are growing concerns in our country, in the church.
Yɛwɔ nneɛma pii a ɛwɔ yɛmma yi mu a ɛwɔ ɛfa asafo yi ho a ɛhwehwɛ yɛasoɔ.
But I think it is time for us to know the times and what should be done in our time.
Megye sɛ ɛbrɛ so sɛ yɛbɛhunu ɛbrɛ ne deɛ ɛwɔ sɛ yɛyɛ ɛwɔ yɛbrɛ mu.
Thank you so much for having me, and God bless you.
Meda mo ase sɛ mogye brɛ ɛmaa me Nyankopɔn ɛnhyira mo paa.
From the grave he arose with a mighty triumph for his foes. He arose a victor from the dark domain, and he lives forever with the saints to reign. He arose, he arose, he arose, he arose, hallelujah, Christ arose.
Adolphonum, he has rose, he arose, he arose, he arose. Oh, Christ has arisen. Jesus Christ was sorry. The church organization growing concerns in Ghana. Many Ubermote ne that's why. Uber, something in can near my chagu.
Yes, and yema echeku papa yeda inya be ma Shadrack papa. In fact, just as people were anticipating, and myself I was, he has truly delivered. And in fact, the comments not alone, the comment section actually attest to why as someone make an you could see the level of engagement. And in fact, I can say this has been one of those times that we've had large numbers of our brotherhood and our audience staying tuned. You could tell because it do baby na banana airshare. I was looking at the data, and the data was telling me that there were almost like consistently for about almost 40 or 50 minutes. Not about 70 people were watching us. It tells that now Nkrofo really wanted to know what our brother had to say. And in fact, time na any or shall I say when I'm 15 and I say hey, and then
hey asama ba well that's exciting, I must say.
Yeah.
And yanom abwa there has been so make no na me twa nyanum adwen gina so no nyamesem yetie see so udwina bonten kura na ho so obi ka nyamesem nyamesem just listen to it all the say wutie no obadwen ho na de atoto transem ho de waka no say unim bibi wo transem a ene de waka ne babire a na de atodwa ne de waka no say ene de transem no ka no enante a na wabɔ mmɔden biara so obedi so. If you say heaven tea and ever, heaven tea, there's nothing more, nothing less. All that we are doing is for heaven. But as I don't come up, Shadrack or Jebre, I mean, I think I will make room for you and him. I don't know. So Obed Danis Edumedina. Say me answer me nya utimika. Say only name edin kuta ho. Mo question and answers ho.
I think that Oba kono musio kakra. She said the na omne ase na eye na na ese.
Eni o ma twagu nti mama me ne kakra.
What the kono musio ne san so bra. Nti no yebe kinkan comment kakra. Na yakaya hwefo say we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube. Say afi na o join here. This is Digital Lectureship Day 9. And then we are looking at church organization growing concerns in Ghana. And our speaker has been Shadrack Oppong, and he gave us a wonderful delivery. And I see your comments, and I will read your comments. Maybe the pekasa into no more from comments, Embra. And I think I remember where we got to initially. I'll start by reading some of the comments that have come in. Questions maybe you better later on, but you better comments first. So I think I'll start from the top. Yes, in fact, I like the level of engagement, guys. My idea, papa. The very first, I think the who here was let me go up, let me go up, let me go up, let me go up. Yeah, lots, thousands of messages. Yeah, all the mamisha simfi Abigail or say DL 2025. Yes, Ichegu. Johnson Isaiah, I say good to be back. I must confess, you are all doing well. God bless you. Johnson, one chain maybe I'll show you if you have a view. Or say Shadrack Oppong speaks. Yes, now or the fire no etwa. So there's a in someone who knew about Becano na ija etai nsɛm no akyi ababio I think Chelsea ho asɛm no actually yɛbɛka ho asɛm Abigail also said nice presentation okay yɛbɛkɔ yɛnim Abigail and ɔno abiem I think yes these were the guys who were taking notes of what our preacher was saying in some passages preacher and they tried to note them down and it really helped and why people were following what was going on I think meaning what he was saying over there but Abigail also can be said this is a great presentation. I think she was referring to some of the comments Nana preacher no making Abebium catchers and not share. I think that was what he was referring to. I say, oh, the good old days. Yes, that time na a preacher kasano. No so onye nenso no nani ebehu nieme bia na ahyase no Kristo asafo ni no na there was a point in time na asafo no was regarded as one of the fastest growing church in Ghana. Me say na menim enyo no na okanka menim sa statistics no but we found out today. Tina Abigail was trying to say those were the good times. Anyway, young call Yanim Charles and so SNA he was watching one train baby or showing if Charles Kessie. Highest motivation was watching live from Obuasi food in a church Elon Kwawu. Yeah, where Miankasa mini pa or Volta region. Medo Benami apete Chicha Munina Jonathan or Mamiti Mekami Amikrum Kasa or say into me and say God bless you all for the good work in progress. Etino Elon Mau Neira Miakata Kata on Shisha Munina. Okay. Abigail said the fast growth pattern of the church began to change when some members raised issues of unison. Okay, so when Abigail Etro and someone preacher Ekikakikano, she was trying to follow the discussion. And so many of the comments came in. So many of them came in. Abigail, I think, and why are they bright Asare, and Abigail, papa comment section. Charles Kessie said or Shane from AM City, Kumase, meaning baby or patch, but you sure say Jonathan Behu AM City. I think Oba or Betchley baby come friend A Jonathan, I ain't funny AM City.
Minimara, but City de ka Temane but
okay. You get also. James Champ was watching you live from Kumase. To God be the glory. Yes. Yes, so many comments.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I think you're brain now.
Questions, no.
Yeah, questions, no.
Yeah. I think my star questions no. So from the top. Now you invited a preacher. So are you ready?
Now just keep your comment coming and the questions coming. We'll try as much as possible to read them and to answer them. But in case ABI and me, any question in question you who say but question I'm clear. Sometimes so you can type further but say sometimes reading it on the screen becomes a bit difficult. But I mean kind I mean if you are Shadrack so and can we a question I say we say We are from Miaminipa Yawedu. Or say there might be some preachers who are afraid to have elders, but I think there's a deeper problem, and it is this: the understanding that the preacher is the pastor or the main man, with everyone else argumenting his work. Okay, statement like the preacher is in charge, the CEO, etc., reflect the problem when I'm speaking about. I am not a pessimistic, but I don't see it changing anytime soon because this doctrine is taught by some very influential preachers. Okay, wait, I think it's a comment, but Shadrack, I don't know whether you respond to it, but I think it's helpful comment and very insightful. Minimum, so then you move there because there are questions that are coming in which needs to be addressed.
I think that if he is saying that that is what he has said, I heard from people, then there's a problem. The preacher is not the CEO of the church. The church has a CEO, and that's our Lord Jesus.
And
And
even the elders are not CEOs. I
elders
remember.
are not CEOs.
I also have a personal. I have elders that I serve under. So, Jamaica is not. I've heard people arguing that the elders are sort of the board of the church, where they have appointed the preacher as
At the CEO.
managing director or something like
Yeah.
that, where he's doing his work or something. But
Now,
that is not it. That is not it.
we have no Bible basis to do that. The Bible is saying that the Lord is the head of the church and he owns it. Ephesians 1, verse 21, 22, 23. And we are just workers in the Lord's church. And the preacher preaches, the elders take oversight responsibilities.
So the question, and some of the questions, because I was saying what other questions, they do want to some of them don't require much of. So my question is, where from Eugene Kweku, I say, is a church that is worshiping in a school building, can they select elders in this congregation?
Yes, the church doesn't need to have their own building before they can select elders. The eldership is as a result of matured men that qualify into the position, and not necessarily the building that the church meet to fellowship.
Okay, the next question. So that's it. So the next question, Suni. So my question is, if an elder or a deacon lost his wife either through death or packing out of a matrimonial home, who gain him? Is he qualified for the office? And can he? No, I don't think he can. Should he resign? That can is just a different word, but it should be should he resign? But Shadrack, my main fan is saying na question ini, but my main fan is say first of all, say elder B and a deacon B ne yiri ewu a, should he continue? I think this question have come up, but take your take on it so that I move on to the next part.
Yeah, I am still in position with the most of the speakers who touch on this matter, what they said. Joe, my position is that the Bible has given a qualification for an elder. I believe that the elder at any point in time must qualify in the position that he's in. However, there are situations that happen that we don't have clear biblical answers to them. And the question is, when the elder's wife dies, I believe that Joe, whoever is in eldership position must think about the work as a call that the Lord has called him to serve. And so if there's anything in your life, anything in your family that will come in as a stumbling block to your job, you need to resign. You don't need to be forced to resign. And so you yourself should be matured enough to say that, brethren, I want to step aside to do this. And so if an elder's wife dies, I think that elder, it is good for him to step aside and let the others continue to serve. If he marries again and want to serve, at any point in time, he should be able to call in if he still qualifies as an elder. But to say that I am not going to resign, and it becomes a problem that the brethren are saying resign, and you say no, I'll not resign, and they have to kind of make a decision upon it. I think it's to me personally, and with all respect to everybody, I think it's shameful. It is shameful to be brought to that level where people need to make a decision for you as a mature student, a matured Christian. And so I will strongly advise that if you are an elder and you lose your wife, you step aside and allow the church to continue. I think your
Yeah,
microphone is
owura Mike Jackson na sɛ mbusani ɔse sɛ obi yɛ asafopanyini anaa asafomusomfoɔ na ne yere wu a ɔnkɔ so ani tumidie ɔnkɔ so antena dwumadie no nsom anaasɛ ɔnsi fam ɛna ɔsapakani Shadrack nso ne yi ano ne sɛ baabi a ɔno gyina no hɔ a na ogyina ɔhwɛ twerɛnsɛm mu a nim deɛ kyerɛ no ɛwɔ twerɛnsɛm a wɔhwɛ mu ne sɛ ebere biara wɔ obi abrabɔ mu a odi ɔsom sɛ elder ana asafopanyini no ana asafomusomfoɔ no ɛwɔ sɛ Timothy nhoma no tire mmiɛnsa ne yi mu baako ba qualification ana gyina pɛn ɔde ama no ɔwɔ sɛ ogyina saa gyina pɛn no nti ne yiri firi mu a ne die mu no ɔno ankasa ɔntwe ne ho sɛnea ɛbɛyɛ afoforɔ no bɛtumi asom sɛ onyayere a ana ɔware a ɔnsan mmɛn bio ɔmmɛsom na ɔnna dwene mu no saa na osusu sɛ twerɛnsɛm no ɛkyerɛkyerɛ. But Shadrack, let's go to the second part quickly now. Second part of the same question, no? I say, what if ne na ne ka say wa packing in your free efie on wari bio na be man se person wa oba ne wari. I'm looking at it from a standpoint that be man se person wari oba ne se me wari bio me come fie me come ma me ho sa bre no sa elder no ana deacon no, what should he do? Or can he continue to serve? And should he continue to serve? And that should be the
so
word.
the question is not with regards to what needs to be done to resolve the issue. The question has to do with the work of the elder, whether it should continue or step aside.
So it's not has to do with the woman who is living. The issue is that the woman is living her matrimonial home. Or yes, I try to be a into a leave, and it has happened. I've met preachers who have had their wives left. They have left the matrimonial home. Should that elder deacon continue to serve as elder? That's the question.
If he's a deacon or an elder, then he needs to step aside.
Okay.
You see, there's a difference between being a preacher and preaching based on the word of God. And there is an elder who has a responsibility of overseeing a congregation and the members. And so if you have a marital problem that has come to public to the extent of your wife leaving home, then I think you need to step aside and resolve your marital issue. As to whether he should resign or forced to resign, I think it's more to that. There are more questions that need to be asked. What is going on? Why is the wife doing that? And who is guilty and all that? So I think for that, we need to have more information to be able to conclude on that matter.
Yo, owura ne nsɛm mu sɛ ɛtɔ so mmienu na ɔse sɛ obi ɛyere ɛboaboa ne nneɛma no sɛ ofiri fie na ɔntena ware no ase bio mu a saa owura yi a ɔsom sɛ asafopanyini anaa asɔre mu somfoɔ no ɔnkɔ so antena na ɔnsom sɛ ɔsom asɔre mu somfoɔ anaa ana ɔka kyerɛ no sɛ dabi koraa ɔno ankasa ntu ne ho fo na ɔmfiri dwumadie no mu mfi na sɛ yɛtoa so sɛ ka yɛbɛyi nsɛm bia no ɛwɔ nsɛm a obisa no ho deɛ nti a ɔbaa no fire hwan na ɛyɛ mfomsoɔ ne saa nneɛma no deɛ yɛhia nsɛmbusa pii ɛyi ano ansa na yɛtumi abua akɔ baabi a ɔsɛ yɛbua akɔ na deɛ obisa no ankasa deɛ n'adwene mu no ɔwɔ sɛ onipa no ɛtwe ne ho na afoforɔ nso ɛsom yɛnkɔ wei so let's go to this one. It says please where from Eugene Kwaku. The other one his other question says what do you have to say about business committee in some congregations? And a quick one.
Yeah, I think that the congregation has a biblical responsibility of ordaining elders. That is the most important thing that needs to be done in a congregation. But when it happens that they are not able to get to that level or they are not mature to that point, the congregation still need to run, and there should be some form of management for the congregation. And that is why a lot of people have resorted to this business committee and interim leadership and all that. But my concern has been that we do not really have any biblical grounds to allow that or to disallow that. There's no Bible passage that says that if you have a business committee where brethren come together to think about the church, it is wrong. But I will side with Brother Victor SQ point when he said that the brethren who come together to think about the church should ask themselves where they qualify to be in the position of making decision for the Lord's household. And so what I will say is that if you are making a decision for the Lord, then please, if you think you don't qualify, you're not matured enough to be able to make a proper decision for the Lord's household, then you step aside in making said decision. I will strongly, Jonathan, I will strongly recommend that preachers, upcoming preachers, and maybe preachers in various congregations gradually move away from this business committee thing, because in my opinion, it is what has retarded the idea of ordaining elders. It is what has caused a lot of churches from having the sensitivities among the members to be able to elect and ordain elders.
Okay. Ura bi asem obusa ye ne se de na asopakani ni be kafa business committee ho ai wo nsafo ahodo mu ana otwe abi gina so se yenya nyi aso ni nya nuru pempen so obeyi mpanyimfo no se ye paw mema bi na ya from interim leaders ana se ye paw mema bi na ya from business committee ana ekwan e befa so e be ni bia no onya tresem nyina so bi enka se eye bone ana enye bone nanso de obetwe adwe gina so ne se saa na dwene mu no saa business committees yi ni saa nyoma yi a ye interim leaders yi eno ka ho pi ana ayetwe yi mpanyimfo no san e won safonsafo mu if we say Nyankopon hyedan ka pote ekwan a yemfa so na emom de waka ene se yenyi mpanyimfo enti de ye bia na yenhwe Nyankopon asemu nanso ono na dwene mu no of course mo say in his opinion o chere se ebeya mayense anka so ni nyina be free biaya a yeje business committee ni interim leaders asem no na anka ya ma mmarima ewo asafo no mu nyina a omadrum pempenso a omunim papa ne bone ana omoye kristofo esom no kremu no etimi edi dwuma ewo som mu no masi aginaye afa ekwan mafa so atoto asore no ba se ne o ka no na dwene mu a Shadrack, let's go to the next one. This one I think is just it's just one word question. Yeah, our sister Philomena. Philomena, I hope you are good. He says, please, about elders, who qualifies to be an elder and leadership in the church?
Well, who qualifies to be an elder is spelled out in 1 Timothy 3, verse 1 following, and then Titus 1, verse 5 following. But I will strongly advise that she goes back and watch day one's program. The day one, I think we spent a lot of time. Brother Don Blackwell did a lot of a great job there in explaining that. So I will entreat that she goes back and listen to that, unless maybe the question is saying something different than what I am thinking about.
Okay, so yes, sister Philomena, so asem bisane say why ne betimi why ne fata ti yi ne say asafopanyini ana Shadrack etwe na adwena so say okọ Timothy homa no ye di nkan no etire miensa ni mu baako ba ene Titus homa no etire baako ni mu num eba fom no a wakuchira to ho why ne fata watwere say why ne fata say ye yi ne say asafopanyini enti o hye ye sister nim kran say onkenkan sa bia no na impo ya mfonyini kakra ye video etwa mu no owura bi a sepakani a odi nkan a ye friend Don Blackwell no kasa fa ho indi se obesre sister no se onko ye YouTube channel ho ene me na me de ka ho onko YouTube channel ho na onko hwehwe ye first video no na onko hwe na enti mi mmoa no enso so enti anu yie no yanko enim we are from Gemfi Benasco. I hope I got the name right. Gemfi Benasco. Was a great work done. God bless you richly. My question, please, what's your take on joint service among various congregations, either in a regional or district level? Thank you. I think he answered this question. Brashada,
Yeah,
quick one.
I talked about that. I said that there's nothing wrong with brethren coming together to worship. But that is exactly why they have local congregations to worship, to come together there and to worship. So the question is, what will necessitate this idea of leaving the local congregation and bringing all these local congregations together to form another form of congregation in worship? And I can give you some few observations and what I've heard from people. Number one is that they want the community and the people around to see that, yes, they are also a big people. And sometimes they call in the media to come and telecast it so that everybody will know that we are also, we too, we they. So that is one thing. Another thing is that people think that for one that is being done somewhere in Kumasi, this is what they said. They said that they do that because they have agreed to donate their giving, their first month giving to a particular project, which they have come together to do. And the brethren are not bringing the money. And so they have decided that instead of you to meet and gather the money and bring it to them, and you are not doing, you rather close your church, bring the members to that joint service, and then whatever money that they collect on that day becomes the money that would have been collected from you if you had brought them. And so, Joe, the question is, on what biblical ground are we doing this? Okay, if the church is autonomous, which it is, and the church is supposed to shepherd the flock which is among them, then why are we trying to institute some form of, organization bigger than the local congregation, to the extent of instructing a local congregation to shut down their door and to gather in a particular park or field or auditorium for worship? I think that if two congregations decide to meet and have this thing, something going on between them, that is okay. If they send people to go and worship with them and have that fellowship, that is okay. But when it becomes a permanent thing, that congregations, they set rules for them, and to the extent that if you decide not to go, if you are not part of that, if you are in that vicinity, that district, and you don't go for that joint service, you are going to be tagged as antagonistic, and they are going to give you all sort of names and put all sort of tags on you. I think that this is unbiblical, and it is something that is dangerous to the church.
Yo, already Gemfi na sembusanie o se die na osapakani no ka efa nsori ahodo a omutimi ka omho bom se kwasia da bi omunyina be hia bia bi no masori nyame na oma wo mpatamu fam ana otwe abigina se oni bible gina so bia na bible gina so bia ni ho a eka se eye bone ana eka se eye papa na de otwe abigina so ne se botae ben ne techri se nipa be sori nyankopon de mfun so ni ho na so botae ben ne techri ebinom ka se ye behia yetimi abofoto na yetimi de aye bibi onputa bebre ogbobo so enso mpese mekoho na so de otwe adwe gina so nyina ne se biara ye no o se ya de a eye bible na kwan so enti se ye beba be hyehia na ye beba be yete se ye hyehia wo yenhia mu biase na se obi ampese obabia ana se asori bi e won patamu ho nanso amma bi ne ye behu ni se asa won penka bo mu dia ene na nya bible kwan so a nti yenhwe enu no yie nti saa na otwe adwe gina so ba se o ma o bible gina so bi a ye kire se eye bone ana eye papa de oni saa nyina so no nanso bibia ye no yenhwe yie na sintudi ato ene ade amma ha me ha asore no we ye nanu yie a odema we from Abigail Sam. Or say my question please, at what point do we say that the church is stable enough so that we offer support to the outside world prisons, orphanage, since there will always be needy members among us. Where I began some in the question there, but Brasha, a quick one.
Joe, thank you very much. I think that there are a lot that I said I wanted to touch on, but this maybe give me an opportunity to talk about it. Joe, people need to understand that God is not, I repeat, God is not judging us based on the many projects and the big things that we have done as a church. So God is not going to say that, well, this church is great. I love them because they do radio program, they do TV program, they do, prison ministry, they do support to the community. And no, God is going to judge us based on the work that he bid us to do. And the work that he has given to us to do is to evangelize to the world, is to serve as a tank, if you like, a pool of encouragement to the brethren, to be an edification system to the church, and Joe, to also serve as benevolence to the brethren and to the outside world. Now, when I mentioned Galatians 6, I said that the Bible teaches us to do what? To do good to all manner of men. And then he added this. He said, most importantly, those who are in the household of God. And so if the church has the capacity to extend help to orphanages, to prisons, and to other, social interventions, that is okay. That is when the church has grown to the point where nobody in the church is in need and nobody is lacking anything. Because I don't read in Acts chapter 2 that they continue steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and in fellowship and in prison service and in orphanages. I don't read that. I read that in verse 44, it says that they sold their possessions and brought it to the members and they share it among themselves. That what happened? That every individual in the congregation was lacking nothing. But we come to our congregations, we have brethren who are suffering to have ends meet, brethren who are suffering to have a place to sleep, yet we collect things and we donate to orphanages and hospitals, and we take pictures and throw them on social media and print them in the papers and on TV and all that, just to let people know that we are also doing something. No, the Lord is going to ask us, what about the sister who is suffering to get a food to eat? What about these young men who need to go to school and have no support from the church? So the church need to get our priorities right. If not, Joe, we will follow what the world is doing, because the Pentecost church has means of making money, which is not biblical. The Methodist church collect money, which is not biblical. They take tithe, they take all sort of things, Kofiniama and the rest. So the question is that if the Lord's church is dependent on just the contribution of the members, why do we want to go and please the eyes of men and be like the world and not think about the members in it? So her question is, at what point? I think at a point where the Bible will say that, will say these words, if you will, Joe, if you can read for me, or maybe if you allow me to read. The point that you need to reach to be able to say that you can just step in and go and do all those things is the point where you reach Acts chapter 2, and I want to read it. In Acts chapter 2, the verse 44 and 45, it says, now all who believed were together and had all things in common, and sold their possessions and goods, and divided among all as anyone had need. And so if you have fulfilled this, that the members are there, they are not in need, then fine. But if you want people to give you accolades and praise you for donating to government and to these institutions, then there's a problem. Joe, the government owns a responsibility to take care of the prison service. That's why I pay taxes. The church can go and support, but it is not the responsibility of the church to take money from the coffers of the church to go and do these things, especially when members are suffering in the congregation.
Abigail, Sam question is a brebe ana asọrọ no betimi agyina pen afei ebetimi de nioma akọboa nioma ewo wiase te se orphanages ne prison ya dade since ebre bia no asọrọ no mu ye be wo hiafo wo ana osapakeni na sem a wo kan eniye na no yiye ne se hwe asọrọ no ewo botaye brofaka sem e fe priorities ye wo de esi ye ne so ye nhwe ye priorities ni yiye de esi ye ne so nyema ne nye yiye asọrọ no nyankopon emu ya ten ewo hospitals ahodo a yetimi sisi ya na ye free nyankopon mu ya ten ewo orphanage homes a sisi ya na ye free ho asem ana say schools sisi ya na sika ejeje ko boabo aban na dade nya no ho asem ni bebu ya ten wo ho ewo se ye betimi aye ho ahoden wo ho a yenye nanso de ehia ma yen ne se yedi nkan ye behwe yan kasa yen krofo mu enti enuanom a ekomde won mu no na ye gya wo ho na nipa nim fenti ti be twa mfonyini ni aboye din se yenso ye birinti ye gya won ho na ye de sa sika no ne ade no eboaboa sa nyoma no eno de na enene kwan so but Shadrack, quick one, let me engage you on this so that maybe you clarify more things so that it doesn't maybe wind up and so the point is this Hebrews 13 I think verse 2 also keep reminding us that we should care for those who are prisoners, those who are locked up. It's in the text, it's in the Bible, it says that clearly. But the point is that social interventions are not the priorities of the church. The priorities of the church is to save souls. For instance, if we build schools, it helps. There are countless children in the society who are stripped of our education, who are not benefiting from education because of maybe resources and finance. But if the church think that that's the focus where we are supposed to put our strength on, then definitely we will lose focus on this. And if we focus on doing what we are supposed, I would like to come in. If we focus on doing what the Lord has given us, it will extend to helping people to also gain access to some of these things. But the government is also something that God will judge for all our taxes that we have been putting in. Because I pay tax, you pay tax, everyone pay tax, and the tax is meant for construction of roads. So if the church take it as a duty, say Accra Kumasi highway, no, it come depend. Ye pesi ye siesie no preko pe e ma aban a though ye be ye e ya de pa enya ne bone menyi ni say ye bone e ya de pa, but would that not reflect on our priorities as a congregation? And that is what I so you maybe you come in
Yeah, Joe, the point is that, like I said, the church, when you look at the New Testament time, there were prisoners who were Christians, and they were prisoners because they have become Christians. And these people were suffering. They will not even be given food. And so the church had to visit these prisoners, right? And to care for them. And so, yes, they are our brethren, especially, and we are caring for them. But Joe, this is the problem. Think about it. I did mission work when I was working as a preacher at Insan Road. You do that, the same thing. You go to Volta region and other places. Joe, there's a place called Pala in the Volta region. And it is an island on the Volta Lake. There is a community that somebody got our tract. I don't know how the church got there, but the church was established there. And we went there to do mission work, and the chief there begged us to help them get a school. There's no school there. The children have to be on the lake, travel for an hour or more to go to school. And so the church decided to establish a school for them. And as we speak, the school is still there. So this is something that the church does. And because of that, it has brought in a whole lot of people into the church. This is where the church is fulfilling the duty of evangelism, using this medium to draw people in. But where government has already established schools and government schools are already free, my question is, Joe, think about the schools that now SHS is free. And it seems to me that any politician who comes in Ghana dare not touch the free SHS. And so if you are going to start a new SHS as a church, are you going to make it free or you take money?
Oh, but this guy, yeah, it's kind of
And how
money.
many people are going to come in? And so I want to beg our brethren that let's, like you said, let's get our priorities right. We are an institution that will be judged based on the work that we've been given. If we go beyond our work to do something else, whilst we are neglecting the work, nobody is coming to praise us. I don't know, you have children. If you tell your children to do something, you go and you come and you realize that what you gave them, they have not done it, but they have done something else. You may see what they have done as good, but it still doesn't take the fact that they have disobeyed your orders and not doing what you asked them to do.
Yeah, and I must add to this. So, if you should visit, as you are pointing out, places like the Volta region, and go and see how the congregations there are suffering, then you realize that there's a serious need for the money that sometimes we try
Go to government.
we put in Accra here, trying to make sure of I went to this prison and take pictures, and you really think back there in the Volta region how they are really struggling just even to get someone. They can't, sometimes some of them can't even get preachers simply because they can't pay. I know of a congregation whose giving you 16 cedis. 16 cedis. So when they do 16 cedis, after 16 cedis, they might share.
So the whole giving is $1, like 6 cents.
I mean, some are very small, 20, 30 cedis, 50 cedis, 100 cedis. Sometimes they have to even share for the old people in there so that they can go back and go and eat something. So the point is this, but we are in Accra, we are in Tema, we are in big cities where we have money. Sometimes we are doing the Church of Christ is doing this, we are doing this hill show, we are making this noise and stuff. Sometimes we just need to go to our local congregation in the hinterlands and see how best.
Let me tell you how serious this thing is. You see, these big congregations in Accra, Kumasi, and the rest, like go to Bomsu, go to Insan Road. I'm going to mention their name. Go to Osu, go to those Tema and all those places. These congregations are the ones pushing for a national office and national this to be able to do what is needful for the church. Sadly, these are the same big congregations who came together to raise funds and threw monies to government whilst there are local congregations suffering during COVID time. We donated 100,000 to government. Some people donated money to a two-force hospital project. Whilst congregations are there suffering, they don't have places to worship. Well, it's their money. I have no qualms with them. It's their money. They need to, but they should spare us this idea of let's come together and have enough money to before we can help those congregations. Because if you took a decision to donate money that you could have used to help these local struggling congregations and you gave it to government, then you dare not have any kind of moral right to now say that it is because we have not come together and having a national office and a national secretariat, that's why we are not able to help those congregations. It is simply because you have missed your priorities. That is what I think. People may disagree with me, people may insult me, but I pray for them. I pray that the Lord will turn their heart toward his kingdom and not their personal vision of letting people know them and see them in the society.
Okay. So, but a quick one. So some of them you have to be quick on this. It says, what's your view concerning different congregations coming together to evangelize within a stipulated period to revive a particular local church? What's your thought on
I think it's church cooperation. So if their purpose is coming together to do this and to help the church grow, that is fantastic. But the problem is that Normally, they come together first time, everything is fine. They all go back to their local congregation. They come back again, and then they start thinking about, okay, why don't we just create an office and do this? Why don't you? Then there's a problem. And I think Brother George Hassan will be touching much on church cooperation and autonomy. And I think I do not need to jump the gun on that.
Okay. Nti ɔse mfonsuo bi ani ho sɛ yɛ ɔboa ma Nyankopɔn adwuma akɔ so a ɛbi yɛ nti deɛ ɔtwe adwene gyina so but ɔse agya asa George Asa ɔnso bɛba abɛkasa ɔne kasa yɛ mu no ogyiri yie sɛ ɔno na saa nneɛma no ɔbɛka ho asɛm pii nti so podium mu na yɛnhwɛ we are from Richard Nana Yaw Edu ɔse my question ɔse brilliant lecture. My question concerning binding where God has not bound and the wrongness of the exchange of the pulpit, wrongness in quotation mark. Or say, how different is that from a preacher inviting a fellow preacher to come and preach in his congregation? That is his question. Say, the hour when I'm a say, babe preacher in congregation, mommy. Was it in so that sa exchange of pulpit, you know, and any side in them? Is it not about some para church organization moving these preachers around, but about preachers finding avenue to cooperate with each other? Would this not be binding where God has closed listen? Okay. So
I think there's nothing wrong with a congregation inviting a preacher to come and preach. I have witnessed a lot of congregation that do what they call gospel meeting. They invite a preacher to come and speak and motivate the brethren. For me, there's nothing wrong with that. So far as they are the one making the decision and calling on the preacher to come in. If the eldership or the leadership there say, hey, we want you to come and speak on this matter for us, I don't think there's any biblical problem here. The problem comes when, like he said, when there's more like an association or a group that has an authority to regulate the movement of these preachers. And so they tell you where you're going, and then they move the preacher from that local congregation to another place. So it's more like it's an order that comes that we have ordered you to move, even though they may not say that, but they will tell you are supposed to go here. And for me, that suppose makes it an order. It's a command. So they force you to move to a particular place where they tell you to go, and that is against scripture, because it is making them, like he said, a church organization, and forcing the leadership of the church to make a decision, whilst in a normal sense they will not make that decision. I don't think, Joe, your congregation will say that we want you to move and go so that we bring someone to come and preach today and we move you to it happens only when there's more like an organization, an organism somewhere that has that, that assume that authority to be able to regulate such movements.
Yeah, we do asem obusa ne say who kase asapakani no change of pulpit say asapakafo no we free ha na okwa ha we free na okwa ha na omo kọ churches ni mu a from so a nso ebe na dan no ne asori bi eto nsa frɛ asapakani bi say o mama preach wo ho enye ade kro no a ana Shadrack etwe na adwena so okay from so de nim say obi to nsa frɛ obie na impo say asori bi e frɛ bi but from so e baba mu ene say ye wo nkofukuo bi omo ye adantem e wa asori ne ntem omo ni asori bi mu na emu omo na da asori ntem na omo e kire de also okwa ha ene de onkwa ha na no ho ne mfumse betima ba ho na eno ho ase na oka enti bidiri ye se ne tofa bomu no ana maka ya question no we ye ejadu so ejadu so de abegum I help my God ejadu de aba o say I'm talking about the proliferation of the Bible colleges we have in Ghana. One issue that is that they lack funding and that they don't get source of fund from somewhere with condition attached, including not teaching the sound doctrine. What do you have to say, preacher? The Bashar, a quick one.
Yes, I think that, like I said, there are a lot of Bible colleges that can team up and become one school, have enough faculty members, because some of them are just 1-2 people just doing it. All right. So we have a whole institution as a Bible college, and we have just 2 men who are teachers. All right. There's nothing wrong per se, but the point is that if you can have more sound faculty members, why don't you, help those students to have such, broad faculty experience than just 2 men pushing their own ideology into the such men who want to preach. And sadly, Joe, people graduate from the Bible colleges and they think that they know everything, and they see themselves as up there, and they don't study again, and they just keep on running around with people sermon outlines and all. They don't even read the Bible. They don't know what the Bible is saying. And so I think that we need to be careful with too many of these Bible colleges yet producing nothing but less effort in our preaching work. I will strongly advise that the Bible colleges look beyond just having students in their Bible colleges, but what the impact will be if they're able to train them well and perhaps even give them a vocation or some additional thing. Joe, do you know that a Bible college can let those people who come and don't have degrees also go to do distance learning, right? So that by the time they leave the Bible colleges, they will not be just Bible degree holders, but they also have a secular degrees or diplomas that will allow them to teach and be able to survive out there.
Okay. Kokodu asem no say Bible colleges and tete bebrebe ana tese ewo yeman mu na oni ubo pin omo na obuso omo a nsem pia omo tai ka ene se omo ni sika etachiri enti so omo ko hwe sika firi ba bi a na ye de nkyekire bi ata won chi se mo kwa mo nkire wi na de na sepaka ni ka firi won o twa adwigina so se ono de o ka ye ne se ebeya ma asepaka Bible colleges ni se omo ka bo mu na omanya asepakafo a omenim de a omo akokwa wanyamesemu bebre e wo sukuu ba ko mu sinse mienu na miensa bi ebeye se obeje sa adwuma ni nyina bo ho so enam se opese ote wan wo de enti eno no sa no boa ema asepa nkofo e ba wan ase beje ntete se asepakafo no omutimi wie sukuu a omutimi beye nkofo a omunim de efise wo hu bi na wo hu se nkofo pi a ofra won asepakafo omu pie free Bible college bebre na beba no na akakakra na de wo ontrim na akakakra eti o ende obetufu pa se instead se yetete bebe no ka yenhwe ntra se Bible college bi won nkofo omo etete wo mo dan se ye behwe no a yenhwe ntra sa de no na aboa. Let's go to this Ambassador, quick one. Is it Abraham Wate say, is it biblical to publicly call out elders who hinder the church growth by being bossy, acting superior, and refusing to listen to others, or it should be handled privately?
Well, Joe, I don't know why he wants this publicly, because Matthew 18 says that if a brother is in a wrong, go to him. Okay, the question is that, was the preacher or the elder doing something public that you think need a public address? If that is the case, is there not a proper way to handle it than just publicly disgrace the elder? I think that it is better for you to, meet the elder, talk to him, and once you have warned your brother, he himself is matured. If he is really mature spiritually, will see the need to maybe publicly let people know how he's sorry or he apologized or confess or repent from that. And so I will say that I don't think this idea of militant way of dealing with situations and publicly bringing people on spot is a good thing. I don't think anybody has won in doing that. So it's proper to be able to be circumspect and be wise in our dealings with our leaders. Because if you shame them publicly, what do you gain? And at the end, for me, I think that it comes back to bite the church the hard way.
Okay. Obi asɛm agya Abraham amoate asɛm a obisa ɛne sɛ asafo mpanyinfoɔ no di abakom asɛm ɛma ɔbɛtiri so na ɔka obi nka bi na ɔde te asɔre mu a ɛho bɛhia sɛ yɛtwe wɔn anim wɔ asɔre no nyinaa anim na yɛka wɔn fom so ɔkyerɛ wɔn anaasɛ yɛnkɔ kokoam na yɛnkɔka asɛm no ana abrahya daka atwe no anwea gyina so sɛ adɛn nti na wopɛ sɛ wotwe wɔn anim wɔ nnipa nyinaa anim sɛ adeɛ a wɔyɛ no sɛ ebi a wobɛtumi aka no kokoam na ɛbɛboa no na amena sakyɛ n'adwene na mpo ɔyɛ papa a obɛtumi aba abɔnten abɛka sɛ na nneɛma bi wɔ hɔ a meyɛ a na ɛntuma kwan adɛn nti na wopɛ sɛ wotwi n'anim wɔ petee mu yesu aka wɔ Mate nwoma no ti 18 ne sɛ yɛnkɔ enuanom nkyɛn nti yɛnhwɛ sɛ na yɛsi ɛtenetene obi ɛbɛ a wayɛ mfomsoɔ ebi sɛ asogyafoɔ kwan a ɔka hei no ɛyɛ na ɛmmoa yɛnhwɛ kwan a ebi fa so ebɛtumi atenetene obi. That was his answer. But Shadrack, but there's a question. I just want to show the question to the audience. The question where Jataba Kwabnamenta. Please, I asked about interpretation of 1 Peter 4 verse 6. God bless you for the good job. Peter, I think this question was asked in Q&A.
Yeah.
This was not, yes, this was asked in Q&A. Where the lectureship, by the way. But your question,
I think you have answered that in the Q&A, so I will strongly advise that. I never touched on that, so if you could go and address that.
So I think the one we answered in Q&A was 1 Peter 3 verse 18. So but Jataba Komnaminta Mr. Ura Mr. Fatchami. The event say yano but we know digital lectureship. The can was a church organization one here. Ne de frafra saa enwanom bɛkye me kwana hɔ na ɔma bɔ ma pa mani so ama hu de mehu nti ye bɛgye brɛ na Q&A hwɛ ye bɛ da ye na ya pɛ baabi atag o ye bɛti mehu wɔ social media so a ye bɛ tag o na wa bɛhwɛ nti bɔ mɔde ahwɛ Q&A si ye bɛyi saa question wi ano me nwene ho kra enye ade a ha dwene we so ye Patrick Kwasi say if a potential elder's wife is not part of the same congregation such as in the case of the permanent relocation, does this affect the qualification to serve as an elder? And how should the church address such a situation? And a quick one.
No, I think that we don't have a Bible verse to say that the preacher, the elder should have his wife sitting by him at any point in time. Because the moment I say it is wrong, then it means that once the elder is elected into office, his wife has no right to ever travel, go for a funeral, go for a business trip and all that. But the question is, when you say permanently relocated, does it mean that his family has moved out and that this elder can no longer say that he has what it takes to be able to do a lot of things that involve his family? So I would strongly advise that this matter should be decided among the eldership there or the congregation there, that how does the movement of the wife affect his job? All right. How is it going to impact his ministry as an elder? If it is not going to be positive, then he shouldn't be allowed to serve. And when I say allow, normally it's more like a militant way of saying that no, we will not allow you to serve. I think that the person himself, if he knows what it means to serve the Lord as a shepherd, then when your family is not there and is giving you divided attention, or even if your job is said that you don't have the right to be able to do a shepherding job, I will entreat that you resign, step aside for the church to move on.
Yeah, let me follow up on some. Let's take for instance, you know Ghana, so I can really let's take for instance you as an elder at let's say as a Church of Christ, for better expression, you are as a Church of Christ, you are serving as an elder there, and your wife is at, let's say, has moved to, let's say, a congregation as, let's say, a Ahensan, or let's say I'm trying to use congregation that have elders like Tafo. Good, let's say Tafo. Let's say Tafo. Far away from Asafo. My point of bringing this to you is that the elder is seem faithful when he can control his family. And how do they seem he's controlling his family?
Yeah, Joe. So that's my point. That's why I said that the members there have the right to make this decision. We don't have a biblical text to say that, because the Bible does not say that the wife should be worshiping in the same congregation. All right. So I'm not going to sit here and make laws, because I myself said I'm not going to bind where, or we shouldn't bind where the Lord has not bound. So the point is that the elder himself need to ask a question: how is he able to come if the wife is like worshiping at Tafu, he's at Asafu? How is he able to come to Asafu to worship and care for the sheep, but his children and his wife have decided not to come there? What is the underlying issue? Is it financial issue, or is it a problem that makes them move out? Then there's something wrong. So I think that I'm going to take this to be a hypothetical, thing rather than a real situation. But if it is a real situation, then the church needs to decide whether this is impacting them positively or negatively. How is it helping that elder to worship as a sheep before we even talk about he being a shepherd?
Okay. So let me follow up with the second question. You answer it because our time. I say that, is it biblically appropriate a Ghanaian traditional ruler to serve as an elder preacher in the Lord's church? Shadrack, the question is, does the Bible, is it allowed? And he puts Ghanaian traditional ruler
Joe,
to qualify.
I am from a home that do a lot of traditional things, so I understand what traditional ruler is. And so if that is what is actually being said, then that traditional ruler, we need to ask the question: is he faithful to the Lord? Right? Because if the traditional ruler is saying that he pours libation, he has idols that he bow to, he also nkunya mi fufu tokoma nkunya mi gunsa and all those things. Joe, then you are not a Christian, because you're serving two masters. All right. I come from a home that sumai siho. Me fear honey danidia in a fijasi. And so I know about this, I know what goes on there. If someone is part of the group, my uncles and my brothers, cousins who do those things, if someone is there and you're saying that that same person is a member of the Lord's church and he's a preacher, what influence does this person have on the church? So we're talking about influence. If the person is, trying to, sometimes they hide behind this idea of, well, David was a king, Solomon was a king, but that is different, because that kind of kingship was not an idolatry one. You see, in our case, traditional. How many times have you not heard our king Otunfo say to talking about some of the kings not doing the paramount chief not doing their obligation in offering sacrifices to the idols and all that, and because of that he stripped them of their throne. And so the question is, what is that talking about? That is talking about idol worship. And if a Christian is in that position, I don't think he has influence to be a shepherd in the Lord's church.
Okay. Ja Patrick, na same busa to so mi ni na obusa aye se Bible makwan se obi a owo ye bibrem ha from ha na odi ahensem Yakupon man of pine say only as a pakeni and only as a penny. Ana orching especially a kitchen adjutant said you nim a fine himself who a fire bibrim hidie na inse go any abosonsom etata ho. The sun at tear dia any na Bible makwan sa na ocheche mu ma mfaton pi a asantememu yewura otiko koso etu na hemfo hye na se adenti a onfa afọrọbọ emma beba abosom ne adade nti saa na teche dia ne na susuaso bɛn na saa nipa no ɛwɔ biase so nti ontimi mɛyɛ osapakani ana asapopanyini nti a wɔn no Eugene kwaku Eugene question we there yeyi ano let me quickly read it and point out. So my question is that if a congregation is not old enough to elect elders, what do you suggest they do? In fact, we have done a video on it. When there are no elders, day 5. So by Eugene, just go on our YouTube channel. Go to Chariot TV YouTube channel and check when there are no elders. Let's search that in Chariot TV channel. Option also said it's how to do it properly. It's a lengthy discussion that will help than the small time I bit. But Shadrack, thanks so much. You have been it has been insightful, it has been enriching. I hope we all learn so much from it that we serve the Lord in sincerity.
Yes, sir.
We take a leave for a few here. Now
Thank
we know
you.
Obed come on. Obed, something in camp, bra yampong. It has been exciting. It has been faith enriching. I think we can't read any more comment again. Yampong. I'm pa China.
Wow, yeah, ma.
Yes.
Ebeba.
Yeah.
Na.
China.
Yes. Jumedie. Come. Abrain. Yeah, kai ya chef was or China program no all ladies program. Remember no better 30 kwanchen na or comment section. What the oil be man now be ba the brana be share. But men comment. I think it defeats the whole purpose. But you animal man encourage you so omumbra na omumbra me share yere no and
can say ube so ama yere then I saw can ube ube so no ma yere now after number better the omo kasafa one here the role of women in shepherding the church, the role of women in shepherding the church. It's going to be 5. My dear born in 1070. Pa echina no num 5 na omashase na echegusa omomo no omo say ya twentwen na se bojagu mu ansa there be 5 na omashase nti let's make time and invite inform our ladies to join us and have ladies corner on digital lectureship. Obed, your best request. I don't know your best share view. Within Jonathan Mensa Bonsu, Miniminia Obed Morty. Or no, baby, the crew no, until the crew my bang. Now, until mean can the crew Mocassa. That from any. Now I your hoko. Oh, Yankupon Yankumu. I don't know, your best share view. Na yes, I won't come on Chariot TV digital lectureship. We are still going on and on. God willing, next week we will continue with the men's one. But God willing, tomorrow is all ladies affair. Bye bye.
Chariot TV is proud to present Digital Lectureship 2025, themed Shepherd the Church of God, Acts 2028. Over 12 insightful days, we'll delve deep into the principles of spiritual leadership, church organization, and the profound responsibility of caring for God's precious assembly. We'll kick off with Don Blackwell addressing Ordination of Elders, who is eligible, followed by B.J. Clark on the elders or preachers, who is in charge of the church. Eric Owens will then explore why take heed to shepherd the Church of God. You'll also hear from Mike McDaniel on balancing ruling and serving, Alan Webster on raising men to be elders, and Eric Eskew discussing when there are no elders. Kyle Butt will cover elders and church discipline, and Scott Kane will elaborate on why elders should smell like the sheep. We'll then dive into church organization with Aaron Gallagher, comparing biblical and denominational hierarchy, Shadrack Oppong addressing concerns in Ghana, and Dan Cates sharing historical lessons. George Assar will shed light on church autonomy and cooperation, and John Adu will conclude by explaining why caring for the elders is caring for the church. Don't miss this enriching series. Equip yourself with biblical knowledge to better understand and participate in the life of the church. Join us for the Chariot TV digital lectureship on Chariot TV and the Church of Christ TV on Facebook and YouTube. Mark your calendars from the August 1st to the 14th, 2025. Don't miss out.